Just to be clear, I'm not totally sure whether having the words, whether being a musician or not a musician gives you any better choice of language when you're talking about records. I'm sure that everyone's heard some pretty epic descriptions by people who are maybe super talented, and somehow you're just like, how do you possibly think that that record sounds like
Right.
that? You know?
Hey everyone, we're live now. By the way, we just went
Oh,
live. Hey, how's everyone doing? We were just talking about how hard it is to describe records, which is great because that's exactly what we're going to be doing for the next 2 hours. But we're going to have fun. We always have fun on the show. It's a good time. Not been the best of weeks around the world, but hopefully for a couple of hours we can sort of have a good time nerding out about some great records, and people watching will have a good time and enjoy our picks. I'm looking forward to everyone's picks. And good to see you again. Fourth time.
Fourth time.
Yeah, volume 4. There you go.
Yeah.
Jeffrey, thanks for coming on.
Yep, this is so fun. Let me retract. It might not be fun yet. Right now, it's been pretty fun. It's been fun so far.
It's been fun so far.
Yeah.
Now we've got to start working.
All right. Oh yeah. Okay. I'll get my little thesaurus that I don't actually have. But if I did have it right here, I would look like this, and then I'd be reading, coming up with the language.
I want to tell you that I have my same thesaurus from when I was like in the 4th grade, and I still have it like in my little collection.
And do you use it still?
I mean, no, because like literally the pages are all falling out, but I can't seem to get rid of it because I wrote like funny things like in the margin, like it's like this thick, and I wrote like WLIR and Ramones and silly stuff, and I just can't seem to get rid of it.
It's like the Mad magazines where they have like the little comics on the inner side. So if you flip the Mad, then you get flip it and you see like the little second comic.
Although now that the pages have fallen out, it's all wrong anyway. So it's
right.
Jeff, good to see you again. Thanks for coming on. Good to see you. It's been a while, right?
I think it was October last time. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Nice. There you go. Like and subscribe if you want to. There you go. All right. Let's see if anyone's watching. Hey, there we go. Huzzah! Hey, Scott's here. Everyone's here. All right. Shall we get going? We're excited to start talking about records. All right.
Yeah.
So, everyone knows the drill. We've each got 5. Sometimes we sneak an extra or 2 in. It's usually me who does that, but I'll try not to do that tonight. We've got 5 records each. We're gonna have a great time talking about. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's start. We'll do 1 each, right? As usual. We'll go around clockwise until we've done our 5. So, Anne, was it the first time you were on, maybe, or the second time you talked about a Japanese band called Maze?
Yes, the first time
I'm here in Japan, and I've not yet been able to find any records by Maze. The closest I could get to it was a record by a band who did a split single with Maze.
Oh.
Fortunately, this band is great, and maybe if you hadn't have talked about Maze, I would never have got to this record.
Wow. Okay.
Japanese band, Nagoya. There's an American dude in the band. I'm going to say this band is underrated, which is a ridiculous thing to say. Let's have a look at the record, shall we? I'm talking about this band. Nicfit is the name of the band. The record's called Fuse. So it's a Japanese band with an American in it on a British label. The label is Upset! The Rhythm. Yes, Upset! The Rhythm, which I'm going to be digging into this label a bit more because I've bought a few records on this label and they're all great. So I'm kind of excited to dig into this label a bit more. Anyone familiar with underrated is probably the wrong word. Nicfit, maybe.
I've seen that, but I don't really remember ever like going down the road to figure out what it was.
Like these days, like everything gets called post-punk. Like everything is post-punk. I've seen this band called post-punk. I don't think this band is post-punk. Like my first impression was like, wow, this is kind of going pretty hard in a sort of like old rep noise rock kind of a way. Was like my first impression. It hit like much harder than I thought. It's pretty aggro. Really good bass, like the Stranglers, like really like super loud bass. Japanese vocalist, she's a great singer. She sings in English, which I'm not always a fan of Japanese bands who sing in English. I think the Japanese language works better, but in this case, it works really well. She has like this sort of staccato attack, but also like very melodic at the same time. Yeah, it's weird. It's kind of like AmRep noise rock, but with a kind of super melodic kind of punk edge to it. And
It's current then. It's a current record.
It's new. It came out in 2022, and I think they're still an active band. So they've been around for 10 years. They've just put out that one like split 7-inch and maybe a demo, and then this. So they play a lot of shows. I see them.
It says they do a version of Ack Ack Ack.
I was going to get to that. That's the last song on the record. Ack 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 by the Urinals. They do it like their take.
The Urinals. I love it.
And they do such a good job of it. They kind of put their own stamp on it, which is, that's the mark of a good band. I want to say you can put your own stamp.
Oh man, I love that song.
A cover of a classic punk.
Yeah.
It's a good band. I mean, I've never seen them live. They have played near me. I've not ever gone to see them, but I probably will now if I've got this record. Gets a little weird with the guitar, a little Greg Guinea at times. Gets a little out there, a little jammy.
Okay.
But
well, the name Nicfit, that's that band, The Untouchables, I think it was, the old DC hardcore band. I think it's a song on the Flex Your Head comp, maybe.
Is that right?
Because I know Sonic Youth covered it on the album Dirty, oddly. But it's like an old DC hardcore band had the song Nicfit, which I want to say was The Untouchables, but I could be wrong.
I was kind of wondering about the name because they're like a Japanese band, and they do have an American fella in the band. So I was like, "Is it?"
Yeah, it is The Untouchables. Yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
Nice.
I mean, they could have been familiar with the Sonic Youth version and just been like, "Whoa, this is a weird fast song Sonic Youth has."
That's actually funny because they're almost like that's amazing because they are actually almost like this kind of fit of like noise rock and like punk and hardcore. So both would make sense actually in this case. So good band. Try to find it. I mean, it's on a British label.
And you discovered it because of looking up Maze?
I remember. Yeah, actually, yes. When I looked up Maze, I looked at their discography. I did see they had a split single with this band. I'm actually Facebook friends with the American guy that I've been talking about, but I never talked to him. But he often posts pictures of him like with, some of the bigger like American like indie bands that come over to Japan. He seems to sort of maybe look after them maybe when they're in Nagoya. So when these bands go to Nagoya, maybe like he hooks up and kind of helps them out in the
Well, now that you've shown the record, this is a good icebreaker to start hanging out with them.
Exactly. I'm going to tag him like right straight away. It's like, look, I talked about it.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a friend just moved to Nagoya, and he used to do the hardcore show in Vancouver forever called Flex Your Head, which was like a long-running show up at the main university, UBC, and now he just moved there with his wife. So, I'm going to let him know. I'm going to tell him about that band, as just for and also the reference to Discord.
Wow. Nagoya has pretty strong like punk scene. It has its very own unique kind of a punk scene. There's a lot of like the traditional Japanese hardcore bands who have a little bit of a violent edge, but they also have a very good sort of like 77 kind of garage punk scene too in Nagoya. So yeah, that's my first pick. Nicfit. You know what? That's great. Like we found out where the name of the band.
It's an unusual word, so it had to.
It is, right? I thought it was like a Japanese English.
Like what's the cover? Like what is that picture?
The cover. Good question. The cover is like a woman's hand or hands. Looks like there's like 3 mirrors, and then there's some kind of glass object like in the mirror. That's what it is, right? That's what I'm seeing.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's got a good 80s vibe to it with that picture.
It definitely does.
That's right. It does. And, Hiromi, Charlie, Ken, and Koyama. They're the people in the band. Yeah, that's
one of those unassuming disco records that you think might be good, and they have like a somewhat subversive looking color, or cover, and then you take them, or then you sample them, and you're just like, oh, what? I've been fooled again.
I definitely had some expectations about this band, and when it came out, I was like, wow, this is hitting like a lot harder than I was expecting to. But it's a great record. Good band.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right, that's my first pick.
Hooray.
What you got?
I am going next. Well, my first pick. Well, my hair is an homage to my first pick because I always have to tie in a little. with something,
Some of us
and
can't
also
do
my
that, but I guess we
T-shirt. So
Doing a listen where right now?
can
of
listen to where.
Oh,
course,
yeah.
I always do a listen wear, even this. Okay, so my first one. Oh, wait. I have to bring all these up because I have like 700 things. My first one is Lena Lovitch.
Oh,
Wait, I can never do this right. There we go.
there you go.
Stateless, Lena Lovitch. And she wears braids. And okay, so this is my first pick. Now I have lots of things to show you here.
Oh,
This is not like me being nerdy. This is important, although it is me being nerdy because so Lena Lovitch. This album is her first album, Stateless. This is the first edition that came out in 1978 in the UK on Stiff Records. And it came out on like various colors, of which I have a couple of different things in here. And another color. And wait, this one's cool. It's a picture disc.
whoa.
Nice.
Okay. Anyway, so this version, 1978, and then I'll talk more about the actual music, is different than this version, 1979 US edition, which is like stiff/epic. And although they have all the same songs in a different order, the music is actually different. So a lot of times, like it's just the same exact recordings switched up, and they might put a new song on and everything. They actually re-recorded some of her vocals on the US version, and what? That is weird. They re-recorded some vocals and they actually remixed a bunch of the songs. And a lot of times, like when people do the debate that's like the UK version's better or the US, in this case, hard to believe the US version is better because they sped up a bunch of the songs, and even with her re-recorded vocals, it's more kooky. So okay, if you don't know about Lena Lovitch, does anybody here not know that much about Lena
If
Lovitch?
the Stiff Canada, I wonder if the Stiff Canada, because the Canada had its own version of Stiff, right? So
Right.
and so you get all in Canada, you find all the ones that have the maple leaf with the Stiff logo inside it, and I have it. Hold on, it's right here. Let's find out which version.
Well, you'll have to compare the track listing.
I
That's
think
probably
this is
how
funny
we'll know.
because I would Lucky Number, which is on the
Lucky
second album.
Number is on this. No, Lucky
It's on the
Number
first
is on
album.
this first album.
That was a
Okay, so
big hit.
Here's my Lena Lovitch records.
Nice.
all right.
And then
So that is the US version, the one where you can
Stiff
see like her
Epic.
braids.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
Stiff Epic.
Stiff Epic. It's
And
79, so it's the
and
same.
it starts with Home.
Yeah,
So that is the American version.
Mm.
and all the stars show that they're the re-record. It shows the different versions on it.
Yes, and actually, like when you see like re-recorded or revoked, that makes you scared usually. But do not be scared. First of all, don't be scared if you end up with either one of these. If you where you're going shopping and find it, because you should be able to find this. I'm telling you, everyone should be looking for this and have these records. She's wonderful. It's like an alien landed on Earth and listen to like a bunch of like doo-wop, and then listen to some girl group stuff, and then listen to a whole lot of Kurt Vile, and then some Bowie and maybe Nico, and then threw it all in a blender, and then also the alien stuff that she brought with her from her planet is what Lena Lovitch is. So if you didn't know anything about her, that kind of to me is sort of like the way she sounds, and she's amazing. I discovered her like very young, and I had a tape. My first thing of hers was a tape, not of that album, but like of her third album. And then I just like went backtracked and found everything. And she's just kooky, weird, and wonderful, and it's very hard. So she was like outsider music before anybody was using the word outsider music.
It's so funny, like Lucky Number was a big hit in the UK, so it would be on the radio a lot. And I remember so distinctively that when that song came on in the car, my parents would immediately start, "Oh, it's that woman again." And so, stamp of approval, like right there, right there. So it's like,
yeah.
I was only like 8 years old, so I wasn't fully into it myself either. But you know,
eventually came around to it. Lucky Number is probably like one of her more accessible songs. Like that's a much more pop oriented. A lot of her stuff is like more dramatic and that crazy, you know, vocal, and but it's just awesome. And she plays the saxophone, and like there's this great that like skronky kind of like off out of tune almost sax. It's pretty great. And there's like piano and keyboards, and she does a version of I Think We're Alone Now on this album, which is so great. She does a version of a Nick Lowe. You know, she was part of that Stiff family, so she, you know, they were all kind of together doing stuff. Like later she did a version of Be Stiff by Devo. And she like collaborated with Nina Hagen later and did a lot
Didn't
of
she do stuff with Toya too?
I don't remember ever seeing anything with Toya, but I mean it would make sense for them to do stuff. And she's still active and still plays like in England. She's American. That's the other thing. She's American. She was born in
British,
Detroit. But she seems like she's actually more like British or German or just, you know, or Eastern European.
Totally. I actually didn't know she was American until just now.
Totally.
I just assumed she was from overseas.
Me too.
Yeah,
I never even knew that. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's the other awesome thing. And she does still play. And I'm like, I actually did get to see her one time play at the Ritz in New York in like, I don't know, like 89. But I would like do a lot to see her again. Like I would be like really excited if she would come to the US so I could see her live again.
But you know, like the American version of a record being better than the UK is more common than you might think, actually.
Really?
And now I've said that, I'm thinking, how, you know, the first one that comes to mind is the Sweet, like Desolation.
Oh, yeah.
Boulevard.
Yeah.
Clash as well.
Yeah, but I always think people always act like anything that's the US version couldn't possibly be better.
Oh no, I'm thinking of the Canadian version. The Canadian version is different than the US version. The Canadian Clash has the blue cover.
Oh, I remember you posting that. Yeah.
It's like the UK version usually comes out first, right? And so it's like that's
But the thing is, this is like different than the usual kind of because it's the same songs.
Right.
But like, so if you don't know anything, anybody who's listening, if you don't know anything, listen to Say When, but make sure it's the US version, not the UK version. Say When is my favorite song of hers, and it is just glorious. Like, yeah.
You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking, what is the Japanese version? Because sometimes the Japanese version is the UK version, and sometimes it's the US version. So, and sometimes there's both. And sometimes there's a mix of both on one record.
There you go. Right.
Yeah.
So, well, she's great, and like pretty much like anything. If you find her it's not that expensive to find her stuff. You can find her in like a pretty good price.
Yeah.
Not the cheapo bin, but like, you know.
Yeah, they're out there. They're
easy to find, which is why I have like 6 copies of that in different variations, and like 6 copies of the next album, which also has some slight variations.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, so that is my first pick.
That's a great first pick.
Beautiful, yeah.
Thank you.
It's a great one.
I'm gonna undo my braids, I think, because
you know I was worried a little bit because I was thinking you might be showing the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh,
I don't know. There's no way that Anne's going to show the Red Hot Chili.
Wait, why would my braids? Oh, does he have braids?
Kiedis sometimes had the braided hair. So
in the Give It Away video.
Yes.
Oh no, that's really embarrassing. Although I have to tell you, I love like rock bios and music bios. I might have said this before. His book is actually really good. It's sad and tragic what his life was like, but that book is actually really good. Despite not liking the band,
like
I
Anthony
still
King
can like the book.
Please.
Yes, it's actually really good.
Okay.
All right.
Despite them being horrible.
Yes. All right. Let's move on.
All right.
Okay. Jeffrey, what's your favorite?
Okay, my first pick. There's the lead up this is sort of a nod to a friend who just passed away. So Johnny Harbin or Johnny Cat, who
Johnny Cat.
So I chose a record that would be intertwined with him, and so but I actually decided to go with Tina and the Total Babes.
Yay!
Because there we go. Because Tina, of course, is his partner,
Oh.
and so I just really because of that, I've been listening to Johnny Cat records, and then after going through them all, I realized how much I still totally love this Tina and the Total Babes record. It's so good. It probably is my favorite record of any of Tina's projects, even though, like, I mean, I know, like, the Bobby Teens and Trash Women, like, there's all these different, but this one just landed so perfectly for me. I'm a big fan of production. So even though, like, when records are really lo-fi, I tend to still enjoy them live, and I do like the records, but I really do love it when a record just sounds universally good so that you can DJ it. So what I find is that, like, when you're talking about Garage Shock, like, so many of those Estrus records, which, like, some of the greatest bands you've ever seen, but when you try and play them out, they can sound rough, and so you really have to think against what you're playing them up against.
Right.
And so, but this record by Tina is just shockingly great sounding. It's just super vibrant, and I think they just reissued it too. It's got a slightly different cover just in the last, and because when I was listening to it, an online version of it actually today, it sounded even or maybe even better than it, because this one, it came out on Sympathy. And so it's like about 20 years ago that it came out. I actually don't know exactly what year it came out. I should, because I just did this whole thing on years of records. But so it must have came out maybe in the end of the year.
I think did Rumbar reissued it recently?
Yeah, they did. And Travis is in the band.
Travis, and Georgia sings some backups too.
So, anyways,
I love you, Travis. I don't know how to do that people do, but I love Travis. Yeah, how do you do that?
It's not right. Is it?
Yes. Anyway,
do the Korean one with the two.
Travis knows how I feel about him.
I did learn how to do the blood at some point. Like, I remember, like, when you like, I don't know why, like, why. Yeah, like, because, you never know when you have to drop gang signs in Canada.
I'm gonna draw a heart.
There you go.
That worked.
Are we talking sort of glammy power pop here?
Yeah, it's definitely glammy power pop. It's more power pop than anything.
Okay.
For sure. But it's like it's the rock and rolly power pop. Like it's not like 70s power pop. It feels, She's So Tough was a cover, I believe, actually. Actually, there's a bunch of covers, because it's like Tell That Girl to Shut Up is on it. And like I don't know, it's just a fantastic record. I just listened to the whole thing again today. I went through, like, sort of a kick of all their records, like all the records related to everybody, and I'm just like, and so because of it, it was a lot of fun. And then when I got to this one, I'm just like, oh man, this record is so good. It's so good. It's so exciting when you rediscover how much you love them. So
is amazing. I mean, she can't do anything wrong. She's just awesome.
Oh, I know. And it's like so fun to see play shows. It's just like pure energy and so much charisma, and has a super cool voice at that. So, and actually, to be honest, like, this record really shows off her voice, because some of the records, when people kind of rip it a little bit and it doesn't really allow them to have quite as much sort of pop characteristics, because when you're just sort of shredding, or if you're really trying to blow out your voice, that's great. And there's nothing wrong with a record that sounds like that. But, like, sometimes you lose some of the charm of someone singing because they're pushing it, right? Whereas this record is the vocals are a little bit more subtle, like, it kind of holds back, and it isn't just like, it doesn't feel like someone just giving her. It kind of feels like someone's really singing, and you really hear a lot of the sort of a lot more characteristic in her voice. It's which is probably why it's my favorite record that she's done.
I've got to say, when it comes to sort of power pop and that kind of thing, I do like those kind of records to sound like really crisp and like kind of radio friendly almost kind of thing. I think it works better.
Because otherwise they sound safe. Like, or not safe, but like when a record sounds, when a record, like a power pop record that doesn't sound punchy, can sound just flat, because then it just sounds sort of, there's no power in it. It's just basically like a pop rock record. Like, there's a line there for those records. That term is a questionable term at best. But I mean, like, but yeah, I mean, This record definitely gets. And look at the cover, is
I
amazing.
was gonna say, let's have a look at the cover one more time because
It's really great. You know, like pulling the bubble gum, and then she's got the big "She's So Tough" button on the lapel. I do have issues with oversized buttons for lapels, but that's mostly my own sort of fashion rule thing.
That is very 70s, though.
Yeah, it is. But it mostly has to do with like the size, how much space a button takes up. Like only certain types of leather jackets. The minute that you don't have a leather jacket, if the button's too big, it like affects the whole outfit. And so like, and if you're wearing a jacket, it isn't leather, then a big saucer button just seems over the top. And so.
But it works,
I
Tina.
will say that I used to make very large buttons, so
Yeah.
I'm going to comply on this.
No, you know what?
Like 3 inches, like big.
Wow, 3 inches of button. That's epic. That's your whole outfit. Like you don't even you literally have to just pick your 3 inches, a 3-inch button. Yeah. That's amazing. You know, those are like proper like saucers.
You showed the art real good.
Oh, I got that. You could get so much extra information. You could have a whole sort of like you could have your whole mantra right on top of that button. Telling, you know, someone gets close to tell me about yourself. Those are the buttons that you should have if you're going to be on one of those like those 20 dates in a minute things. Just this giant button that tells you about yourself, and people just go around. They're all creeping on each other. You know, you have like you're like bound. You'd have to have like one of those sort of shell bodysuits so that people can only get so close. See, here if I take off my glasses, then it's like even more awkward. So it'd be like that sort of scenario. I'm never gonna actually do that. But like, should I decide to wear a bodysuit and go on one of those dating things, which I can't see happening because I don't need to date people. But that doesn't mean that for a social experiment it wouldn't be worth trying.
Worth a shot.
Yeah. All right. Sorry.
All right. No. Great. All right.
Pick.
Nice.
I actually had my hand on that one, like when I was like kind of starting to sweep around, and I did kind of pull it out.
All right.
So.
Nice.
Cool. All right, Jeff, what's your first?
So for my first pick, it's a pretty new record. It came out like late last year. They had a one-sided 12-inch on Iron Lung that came out the year before. And this record is by a band from Pittsburgh called Speed Plans. And I love this record as much as I hate the cover art. Because it doesn't have the band's name on the front. The record, I believe, is just called DUI. And this looks like it's just a street sign. And on the back, you've got the name of the band, but you can see that they flipped the E's, but they also flipped part of the D, and it's attached to the P now. And like the front's pixelated. And then there's an insert inside that's like, oh, it's so bad. But this record's so good. It's like really, really fast, like Neo's Deep Wound type, like dumb fast hardcore. And like they have this flyer that says DUI, you can't afford it. And then if you look, there's the Getty Image logo still on it. They stole it off the internet.
Oh, that's on purpose, I want to say.
And then this other side, it just says Pittsburgh Hardcore, and like it's like what am I looking at here? Like this insert is like a waste.
Jeff,
like
throw that other side again. I'm in disbelief.
I think it's an engine or something. I don't know, but like it's got a little like copyright on the corner. Like
the other side as well. It's like that. I've
terrible.
never ever seen that like on a race.
It's sloppy and terrible, and I would never let this stand if I was putting this out. But damn, this record's fucking great. Like as much as I hate it, I love it. There's 3 songs on the back in a row that you'd think like when you guys are recording this, somebody's gonna be like, "Oh, we shouldn't put shut up followed by shut the fuck up followed by fuck you and your friends too." But holy shit. What like a 1, 2, 3 punch those songs give? Because you're like, that's weird that this song's called "Shut Up" and that one's "Shut the Fuck Up," but it's like, yeah, I get it. This record's like fucking awesome, and I love that it's a 7-inch. Like I feel like so many, like I said, their previous record, which I have right here, was a one-sided 12-inch.
It's so different looking to that.
Yeah, and like this artwork's great. Like I got no beef with this. It's pretty cool. It's like a two-tone situation, but like I don't know. I feel like a lot of bands do the one-sided 12-inch these days, instead of a 7-inch when you really just have a 7-inch worth of music. So it's not really like why am I paying like $20 for this instead of like 10?
Where
But,
did you find this? Where did you find that? Where did you know about them?
So I had picked up this record randomly. It's on Iron Lung, which puts out like tons of fast hardcore.
Yeah.
And so when this record came out, I was like, oh yeah, I already like that band. I'm just gonna pick this up. But like if I saw this in a store, there's no fucking way I'd pick this up. I would be like, throw this in the fucking trash.
That's on Convulse, isn't it?
It's on Convulse Records, which I'm not super familiar with, other than they put out a gel LP.
They put out the gel LP, yeah.
That's all I really know about Convulse. But I did pick up this, and I picked up that. Oh shit! It was on the show the other week. Permanent Damage, maybe it was called. It's got like a yellowy orange cover. I picked up that too when I was picking this up, and that's also very good. So maybe I should look more into Convulse Records. But you need a new guy in your art department.
That almost looks like it's bad on purpose, I think.
I think like their vibe is sort of like that band from Pittsburgh, Illiterates, where they're like, we're purposely stupid. And it's like, that's cool, but like, I don't know, I'm an adult. I can't like look at this shit.
Yeah.
But it's a great record. Really fucking great record.
Bad on Purpose just doesn't age well, because then you've actually gotten past. It's like all those records that came out like right when people first started learning how to use graphic design, and they're like, and they have
pixelated.
The worst fonts, and it's just like, and now you like look at them and they just, it just makes it tough.
Yeah,
it's funny too when you see them where it's like somebody clearly knew you had to photocopy the cover, but somebody's like, oh, I got lots of fonts on my computer, and they just print out terrible pixelated.
You know what? We're kind of saying that maybe they did it on purpose. Maybe they didn't do it on purpose. Maybe, maybe that's the look they were.
Maybe they just didn't know any better. Like, I'm guessing this is like a street sign that someone took a photo of.
Right. Let's go and take some real photos here, Let's not. But
it's not even a very good
image
photo.
on the inside. But, they're a great band, though. I love them.
They are great, but Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So yeah, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up, and fuck you in a row.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's the 2025 vibe I bring to the party.
Oh, I love it. This is what I love about this show. Everything we just did is just so great.
Yeah, it's always good fun, Good. Hey, I've got something that kind of ties in with that pick. So this is like stripped down, raw, like snotty hardcore. It's about 10 years old, 2012, from Toronto, Canada, but has amazing artwork. And I think the artist, I'll get to it later, Tara Bursey is her name. I think she's gone on to do things. I kind of looked her up a little bit, and I was directed to various different sort of museums and schools and stuff, which I didn't want to sort of advertise too much, but you can look her up. Just Tara Bursey is the woman that did the artwork. School Jerks.
Oh yeah, that record's awesome.
It was awesome.
This was a complete coincidence, because like last week, Greg from Shit, SHIT, from Toronto was on the show. Great band. It was a great episode. And this record happened to be one that I picked up recently, and it was in the stack. I put it on. I was like, Christ, how did I miss this one? This is amazing.
That band was great.
And I looked it up, and there's like, who was it? I forget. It's Ivan from Shit was in the School Jerks. I mean, Toronto band. So
Ivan was in Terminal State, was he? Before that?
And too, who I talked about as well. I knew that record, but I didn't know the School Jerks. So look at that.
Yeah, I booked Terminal State in New Jersey years ago, and I think the guitar player of School Jerks and the drummer were both in Terminal State.
Okay.
Because when I saw School Jerks, I knew like 3/4 of the band, and I was like, oh, hey.
Terminal State, that's the band. It's got a black and white cover, and it says in the corner, it was on Deranged, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it was on Deranged.
Yes.
I remember that record.
I did an LP and a 7-inch on Deranged. And then I want to say the bass player of School Jerks was in Reprobates, who was on No Way Records.
I didn't look into it too much. I just thought, wow, Eggs.
That band was awesome.
I was like, wow. It's like 80s, like stripped down, raw, like snotty, bare bones, hardcore, like no metal, no other things. But like very fast songs. It moves at a very quick velocity, very snotty, and yet super catchy. Like the songs are really, really memorable. So you can't help but say, you can't help but think of like early Circle Jerks and early Black Flag.
Yeah, I think they had 3 7-inches before that LP also.
Wow. Yeah, this is like a $10 bin, sort of like,
Yeah.
whoa, this is like,
You're not going to be disappointed with that $10.
oh, it's incredible. And it's hard, there's a lot of like different illustrations, but I mean the artwork is,
Yeah, it's very like Black Flag reminiscent.
right, it's Pettibon kind of style artwork, but yeah, modern day classic, I want to say.
Yeah. I think underrated. I think
I think I can confidently say this one is underrated.
Yeah.
It gets a little weird. It has that like circle jerks thing, but it also gets a little kind of ugly and weird at times, like a little bit like the kind of more modern bands tend to do sometimes. But yeah, just
When is that from?
2012, and it came out on Grave Mistake Records. Yeah, so old school, like snotty hardcore.
It's funny, those records are turning up really regularly in the bins. It's like you know how you see like that age out, and I find that like especially for hardcore records, people are like so keen, and then as they age out of those those records, they let go of them, and then maybe they get into more alternative or punky kind of stuff. Like I hate using that, but you know what I mean. But you do see it. You see people age out of like especially the hardcore, and so right now, so those records are just over 10 years old. There's this whole gap of records that keep showing up in the used bins, and they're all cheap because all of them are showing up and they're easy to get. And Canada's, they're full of them because Deranged was based out of here.
Yeah.
And so all these bands are like, they toured up and down like our coast, and so much of it came up from the West Coast as well. So those records are everywhere right now, and they're all cheap. So if people are listening to this and they're like, man, that sounds they're up for it, you're gonna find that record and it's gonna be $10. You're gonna be
But I think like Great Mistake was having like our old releases are on clearance. You probably could have got it from the label pretty cheap recently. I don't know.
I think also like it was back in the day where labels used to press like proper amounts of records. They could. Not like 300 or 250. It was at least 1,000.
You could move that many.
Move them. Yeah.
There's easily 500 copies of that, if not a couple more, because I have it on color, so I'm sure.
Let me quickly check. No, mine's black. But there's, like I said, there's a lot. You're right. It's exactly like that here too in Japan. From this general time period, like 2000 to like 2020.
You can live.
So many good records.
Yeah.
You're right there, Mike?
Yes.
All right. You better take a swig. All right. Well, okay. My next one. Okay, so no shirt change right now. We'll stick with this one. Okay, my next one. I was really surprised. Right, let me grab my pile. I was really surprised that no one has talked about this band before on this show. I always make sure I look. Ooh, that's pretty.
School Jerks on Green.
And I'm always like, am I making a mistake when I'm typing this in on the list? Like, how has no one ever talked about this band before on this wonderful show? But here I am going to talk about the very mighty, amazing, one of the greatest punk bands of all time, and yet pretty underknown, really, but classic forever. The Pagans.
Oh yeah.
Pagans. And I think they're like very underknown and undervalued, and I think they're one of the greatest punk bands of all time. And I chose this particular one. I'm so bad at this part. Okay, I'm doing okay here. Okay, so I chose this one. This is the album is called Street Where Nobody Lives, of course, one of their great songs. This is a collection that came out in I wrote this down. Okay, this came out in 89. On Discogs, it says it came out in 86. That is wrong. This came out in 89. It wasn't the first thing that was ever released by them, but they don't have like a proper LP. They have maybe like later, and that Pink album is sort of a live album, but I don't consider it like a proper LP. They don't have like a real proper LP. They have that. There was a good compilation later released called Shit Street, and there's a bunch of things. But for me, this is the first one I ever owned. And this to me compiles all the songs you need if you only had one Pagans record, but this is probably kind of hard to find, but still you should try to find it. This to me has every song you need to have and all the right versions, from 77 to 79, everything.
Is that different?
On
Because
here.
I've got the pink one and the Shit Street comps, and so that's different than what those are.
So everything that's on the Shit Street comp is
on that.
on this.
Okay.
But the Shit Street comp includes a bunch more things. So like if you want to let me put this down, I don't need to hold it anymore. If you want to have like a perfectly tight, not one single bit of fat, not one song where you want to even think maybe I would skip that one, that's the record. Not there's not an ounce of fat on it. The Shit Street might have like one or two meanderings, you know, that are like, okay, I didn't necessarily really need that, but it does have all this stuff on it too.
Right.
It also, however, has the songs in a different order. And that's the other thing. The order of these songs is just perfect. And the Shit Street kind of like I said, it kind of like puts in the Rolling Stones cover, and then it has this live thing, and then so I feel like they could have like decided that a little bit better. But I mean, I just feel like a lot of people just don't know the greatness of the Pagans. So and well, before we started recording, I was saying to these guys, like, today's picks for me are like comfort food, comfort music. I'm a lot of times I try to find some new things to talk about, or this is all stuff that's just really special to me and like makes me feel great. So that's kind of where I was with all my picks. But I just, you can't beat those songs. You cannot beat Street Where Nobody Lives. I mean, Dead End America. You know, boy, can I dance good. I mean, my gosh. I mean, holy cow, you know, I Juvenile, 6 and Shit. Yeah, what's this shit called? Love. I mean,
that's my favorite. That's my favorite.
Come on. What else can I say?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're with you.
Look, I got to take my sweater off because I'm all heated up now.
The Pagans probably had like a moment where they were like a little bit more well known when those two comps came out, because I was working at a shop and I was working at a distro place when those were coming out, and because I remember they ended up on either one of the Killed by Deaths or some of those sort of late in the 90s. A couple of the sort of singles showed up on the comps, and then those two collections came out. One was the reissue of the Pink record, but then there was, but both of them got repressed or redone or whatever around like kind of the end of the 90s, start of the 2000s. And they were everywhere for a short period of time. And it was kind of like they were sort of, when a band gets reissued and everyone's kind of stoked on them but then it disappears, because once those fall out of print, it's only the people who are kind of on it during that period of time and so for me, that was the way I was able to get those records, because you just didn't see them at that. It was kind of pre-eBay, I think, or right around, so you weren't really buying records online. So I just kind of bought them at that point. That was the first time I really got exposed to them, because you just didn't hear about them up until other than the comp tracks, So that was, so I wonder if that's the case, when it falls out of favor. So you go back and you meet someone who is like super keen. Just that period of time, they're like, oh no, I love the Pagans. And then 10 years later, it's just like, I've never heard of them, because they just fall into that little window. Right.
Yeah.
I think
they're just amazing.
Right. Honestly, I think I got into them because I was into other stuff on Crypt Records at the time.
Yeah.
That's probably what led me to the Pagans. And it could be even like stuff like the New Bomb Turks first LP and stuff like that. Or that sort of, that first like garage punk revival, whatever you want to call it, where Maximum Rock and Roll was all about like that kind of stuff all of a sudden, and there was tons of bands and it was really exciting. And that was probably how I came across the Pagans, was through Crypt Records, I would say.
Yeah.
Pagans.
Classic.
Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland is cool.
It is.
Has so much great stuff.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, I'll go, I guess.
All right. Yeah.
I'm sort of this might have been my favorite record of last year. And this band's put out a bunch of records. Not a punk band. It's that newest Lemon Twigs record. Now, I'm not sure if you guys are on board with that. It's like a straight up throwback. This record's the best sounding of all their records. It's a straight up throwback record to sort of the later 60s into the early 70s. Like you can hear, I mean, the most obvious influences would be like the Beach Boys and the Beatles would be the things, but it's not even the Beatles. It's almost more Wings. Like it's like the type of early 70s songwriting. But the vocals are just so truly phenomenal with these brothers. It's, you know, if you enjoy that era of pop songwriting, it's kind of as good as it gets. Like this record specifically sounds like it just came out of a time warp. It's so instantly memorable, as if you've like heard it on AM radio or something, like on an oldies station. It's funny because it's like in 2024, you're listening to a record like that, and like I'm not sure about yourselves, but the records that I find a little bit more challenging are totally different than what I found in years past. Whereas like something that was super abrasive is actually very safe to me sounding now. It's a very easy record to digest because it's just like, okay, I get it. You want to punish me with sound, I'm in. But it's like, and I want that, but that doesn't necessarily feel like it's challenging anymore. So when a record comes out that really makes a record that is sort of out of step with like something that's challenging, but clearly is coming out of an independent mindset and just like, oh, we just love these records that are, I mean, even their parent, like, I mean, these two dudes aren't old enough that even like when you start doing the math, you're just like, well, you know, like, I don't know who was playing you these records, but it's just like, you guys are just in your 20s. I mean, like those records that you fully love are like, those would have been the records that I was listening to, and I'm going into my 50s, or I'm in my 50s, right? So like, I'm thinking that if you guys are in your 20s, like you had like, I just find that kind of a neat sort of like the cycles in time, like how it is that like anyways, the point is that this record is shockingly good. Ooh, this is fun too. There's a melody maker on the back cover. It's like my favorite type of guitar. It's like the same guitar that Joan Jett uses, which is just like but it's like got this thin little headstock. And if you have you can't tell because there's no, wait, if I can give you some perspective here, this is the size of a record and that's my hand. So you can figure out how big my hand is. So like if you have like the necks on the melody makers are really, really fun to play. So, you know, anybody who's keen on them might want to fix the pickups so they're a little wonky. But I mean, like, but anyways, but I didn't actually even realize until just now that that's the guitar that he's using. That's sort of just, although I just out of a side note, well, it was the first note about the guitar was really the side note. This is the second side note. And that would be that not a fan. Oh, wait.
Oh, there you go.
That collar sweater combo is fucking bad. Yeah, I can't get behind that. I mean, I do like a good gingham as not much as the next person, but there's some questionable fabric choices going on there. So
there's something Brady Bunch about it.
Oh, it's very Brady Bunch.
I'm surprised to learn, because I have a little study screen next to me, that they are from Long Island.
Yeah.
Long Island. I've seen their name and I've heard them on, like, I think on Underground Garage, and I'm surprised that they're from Long Island.
I mean, they remind me a lot of the Left Bank as well. If you're a fan of them,
I love the Left Bank.
Yeah, yes. Like where it's like, it's really smart songwriting. It doesn't feel quite as blatant. You really do hear like the Beach Boys side to some of their songs. So they're very, very they're slick and rich sounding records. And so if you're on board with that era of 60s like sonic quality, you're going to love those records. If you're all about the Stooges and all that kind of thing, then you might just be like, who is this turd? Why are you telling me this fucking pop clap? But it's just like, but you know, that said,
apparently these two guys have extensive stage experience in theater. Musical theater, really? and they've actually been on Broadway as young people, so that they might bring that to the.
They are quite good live, and their videos are really funny. Like you're just watching them. It doesn't come across. Apparently, it's just the two of them that do all the recording, the two brothers, and they look exactly the same too. So and they actually, in many ways, they remind me of like of the brothers from Red Cross. Like they have like a similar sort of just the way they come across, and of course when you think of like the direction that Red Cross went when they really got into the power pop glammy territory, it's not even dissimilar in that it's not punchy like Red Cross. Just to be clear, it really doesn't sound like that. It does sound like a throwback record to the earlier 70s and the 60s.
Right.
And the record that I just shared, the Dream Is All We Know, is it's probably the best sounding of all the records so far. The other ones do sound really good, but they sound a little bit more whimsical at times. And so it sits into that like 60s like rock and rolly power pop territory. I know that term is not really appropriate, but I think you know what I mean by it.
Nice. All right, beautiful. I've seen a couple of their videos that have come up on YouTube and stuff, but I've never actually sat down and properly listened to one of their records. I should do that.
But if you do if you enjoy the Left Bank,
I love the Left Bank. I love that. Yeah.
Do listen to the record because you really will start to hear it in it. Okay. And if you like how those songs, because they have so many layers, same way with the Zombies did it, where they would have like it's almost orchestrated, and then every single and sort of ABBA does the same thing, where every vocal harmony has a counter harmony to it, and you hear it, and the more you listen to the record, you're just like it's a real headphone listen if you're on board with such things.
Yep.
It will not punch you in the face. So just to be clear, anybody who's looking for,
I've got more than enough records that punch.
Exactly. There you go.
Nice. All right, Jeff, what's your second pick?
So my second pick is a band that's been around for like 30 years. From New York, they're a punk band, and I just never saw them, never listened to them. I'm aware of them, but never listened to them, and happened to see them for the first time, like, I don't know, 3 weeks ago. And I was talking to a friend before they played, and I was like, know a few songs, but this is going to be like am I going to be a fan of this band at the end of the show? And the answer was yes. And I got a ticket to see them in Philly in a couple weeks. But the band is the Templars.
Oh, yeah.
So this is their first LP, which had the songs that I knew on it that they played all of. And it's great. It came out in 1993, and there's 2 people playing everything, which I didn't even know you could do that back then. Nowadays, you could do one band record in your fucking house. But like 2 people doing a like analog recording in the 90s, playing everything, that's crazy. And like the sound's a little thin, but it was 1993, man. Like, what do you want? But like, yeah, no, this band's great. Apparently the show in Philly next month is their first time in Philly. So I'll be
That's
there.
crazy.
But no, this band's awesome.
I love them. I have probably like almost every record they ever recorded.
They were on the show last week.
Album.
The split LP, the Templars, and was it Boot Stomp, like Volume 1 or whatever it's called? Like
I have that. It's like looks like a mod kind of.
It's got Noddy Holder from Slade like on the
right. Yeah, yeah, it's really good.
It's funny. I didn't realize like how like everybody loves the Templars. Everybody loves the Templars. So
and it's kind of strange too, where I think like for a band that's from New York, they're probably better known outside of New York. I don't know. Like I said, new fan.
I mean, they've been around for so long. And they're so funny too because they started like when well before sort of like that sort of. It was even before street rock or sidewalk rock or whatever you want to call it. And then like and like so it was still like when skinhead was pretty taboo. Like I was the guy who I was living with, this fella Mike, and he's actually one of the dudes at Pirate Press now. And so we had this, I was living at a place with him in the interior when those first 10 Players records came. He was a skinhead guy, and he showed me those records when they first came out, and it was kind of in that limbo. Like this is like the mid 90s, so you're like nobody really gave a shit about Slade at that point. And so like to have like this band come out and sort of have vocally like those kind of qualities, but it sounds really almost thin and nice. Like the guitars were so clean, and it was like, because some of the later records you can hear the production gets a little bit thicker and it gets a little bit more, but
they added more than 2 people, like,
the nights of all this, the 10-player nights and all this sort of thing, and this whole tough guy vibe. And Oi dudes at that time too was just like, come on, just stop, and like,
Yeah.
and then we heard that record. I'm just like, how is this the same band? How and you see the picture of these dudes, and they just look. You're just like, I don't want to fight you. I'm sorry. And then, like,
You guys are like, I don't know, they're just hanging out in the street.
yeah, exactly. That's the photo I'm even thinking of, because I even have that
hanging out.
so clearly remember that picture of looking at it when that record came out. I was like, I don't know, because at that time they're still all like, you're still navigating the tail end of all the skinhead wars that everyone's dealing with, and so like when you're seeing Oi guys at that time, it was still sort of like, I don't know, man. It was a little bit sketchy, and but then that record was just awesome, and it was
it definitely has like a more of like a rock and roll like.
Yeah, it's not Oi, or not the way I would think of it. Not at the time. Not like when you're, I think that term sort of really evolved into. It's gotten a lot looser over the years. It's not like Cockney Rejects and nothing else. It's like they've taken a lot of liberties as to, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be static. Those liberties you're allowed to take them. It's like the subculture sort of evolved in a way, in a good way. Over the past number of years, that's allowed them to kind of like have a little bit more sort of variety and sonic variety, I suppose, if you want to call it that. But anyways, I'm so excited that you showed that record. I haven't thought about it in a little bit. I'm fully gonna listen to Templar's records. Like,
they played a show with that band Mess from Mexico, who somebody had
I
on
played
the
a
show
show with Mess like a month ago.
They're so good.
They're so good. I love that dude with the long hair, and he's just like my favorite bass player, and he's just so rock and roll. And you're just like, it's almost like all the different versions of people on that stage, and you're like, this is so exactly the way I want a band to look right now.
Yeah, that band was great. So I was like, oh, I guess I'm seeing the Templars, and then I got home and I bought tickets for the show in February in Philly.
There you go.
Yeah, they're good. Phil is a really cool guy.
Yeah.
I got to get onto the I'm still not really that familiar, but like people love the Tempers. Like I said, it was like,
this one.
Yeah, okay. Start at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Start at the beginning with
record.
30th anniversary edition on TKO Records.
Oh, okay.
It just came out. That's like a reissue of it.
Yeah. This is the TKO has been reissuing like everything that he did. So this is a reissue.
Nice.
That's the 30th anniversary.
Oh,
so I had 30 years to check out this band, and I did it like 3 months ago.
Well, I'm still behind you, my friend. I'm still behind you.
Yeah. And it's like when, like you guys were saying, it's like, it's thin, but thin not in a negative way. It's like, it's not chunky.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Like, it's more like a trebly, and it's like that. I just keep hearing my head is like the tink, 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 like on on the cymbal. It's like, it's just different. They're not like any other band, really.
And maybe since it was all analog recorded, maybe they only recorded one guitar instead of two. I don't know. I don't know how they recorded any of this.
Yeah, thin wasn't meant to be a bad descriptor. It was just like that's the way it sounds. Like, but it's not. Yeah. It's it's like
right, because everybody's always trying to go for that like.
Yeah,
and theirs is like, I feel like theirs is like soaring. It's kind of like up. I like it.
Well, it just leaves all that space, because it's very clear. So suddenly it's like a really simple recording,
It's
like,
catchy too.
But it's really catchy. It is really good.
Nice. All right. I was for a second now. I was gonna try and tie my next pick into the lemon twigs, but it's not going to work. It's not going to work. So I'm going to ditch that. I'm going to ditch that idea. But all I will say is this record is closer to the Lemon Twigs than it is to like the School Jerks or DUI. That's all I got. But I was thinking about it for a little bit. Let's find out. There might be some similarities musically. But I'm going in now with my last three picks. They're all D bands. They all begin with the letter D, and that's not because I was lazy and just went to the D section and pulled out 3 Ds. They're part of that pile of records that I've been afraid of. We talked about it a little bit. I've got about 25 records down there. Every week, I'm going to talk about this one this week, and I'm like, I don't know how to. Next week, and I put it back, and this week I'm going in, and I've got 3, and they all begin with D. So wish me luck. I'm going in on a journey with these 3 D records.
One of my putback records was a D record.
Really?
I wonder if it's the same, one of the same.
None of my pile is D. so you're good.
Just so you know, I won't be talking about any D beat records today.
No D beat records today. Although D beat probably comes up like at least once every week.
Yeah.
I might have you covered on one of my picks.
Yeah.
Right, Jeff, represent. Okay.
When I think of Goner records, I do.
Oh my gosh!
Oh,
this is the record that I put back. I had it in my
from
hand,
the,
and I
from the D
picked
section.
it. Yes.
Well, let's find out. Let's wait. Hold on. It could be the same record. I
It
usually
is,
think of sort of, garage, like sort of estrus. That's my images of Goner records. I could be completely wrong. I don't know, but this record is totally not that at all. It's very poppy, and it might not be that far away from like the Lemon Twigs. I don't know. It's amazing. It actually floored me, like how great the songs are on this record. I'm talking about a band from Australia, but they might have been from.
Oh, nice.
There's the thumbnail. There we go. This makes me so happy. It's easy to talk about now because Anne can talk about it instead of me.
I put it on like next time's list, so now
It's hard to talk about, right? So okay. So last week we were talking about the Chills a little bit. I think Greg or Graham showed a Chills 7-inch. Flying Down Records, New Zealand pop, all that kind of stuff. This kind of has that kind of a feel. It's just a great pop record. Can we leave it at that? It's just great, like pop.
You know what it reminds me a lot of? Do you know the Lucksmith from Australia? No. It's very, and I love the Lucksmiths. It's just like soaring Australian wonderful pop, where you could hear the accent very strongly when they sing.
Very twee. Very kind of acousticy. It reminds me of so many different things from like old postcard records and the television.
Yeah, go-betweens.
And even a bit of Syd Barrett, like psychedelia, which makes sense because a lot of those bands were drawing from that too. But it's also, the songs are so good that it's almost like Aztec Camera or like Orange Juice or something. It's like, there's just every song is like, Jesus Christ, that's like a classic pop song of these guys. Just another one. Oh, and another one, and another one, and another one. And, there's instruments on here too, there's like melodia and like brass section and stuff, but don't be scared. We've said that point, like, don't be scared of like these kind of things. That it works like totally fine. And the vocals, they're like honey. They're just like, he's just got these amazing, like sort of talky, singy, like Matthew Ford is his name. And I think, yes, he's from this band is half of the UV race. Is that right? Oh. Am I right? No, that can't be right.
No, they changed their name. They used to be called something else.
The Thigh Master or something like that.
Right? Thigh Master, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember UV Race from Australia.
Yeah, maybe that's another band. I'm thinking of another band. Forget that. I
think UV Race had members of Straight Jacket Nation. That was like a more hardcore band.
I'm thinking of Terry, which is another band I've been getting into. That's Terry. Dippers is not UV Race, but I was just like sat here. It's one of those ones where I like
surprised that it's on Goner Records.
It's on Goner, yeah. It's very uncharacteristic.
I was really surprised.
It's like really beautifully recorded. It's one of those records where like, I don't know if anybody else does this. I could put on a record and I'm not looking at the speakers or I'm not looking at the record player, but I like swiveled my chair around, sort of look at the record playing, because it was like, it had me completely captivated. It was like so amazing. It's like, wow, these are like classic pop songs that could have been written like, by Aztec Camera or, great classic, modern day classic. 2023 came out.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I don't know the record, but that sounds exciting. That sounds amazing. I'm so into everything.
Let's do it again one more time.
I know the
double dippers. There you go.
I have to thank Rachel for telling me about that one. And I don't know if Rachel's on paying attention tonight, but she's like my North Star for like a lot of things.
All right.
She's just amazing, and she's so smart and has great taste. And I trust her like opinion on like pretty much anything on the world, not just music.
Mm-mm-mm.
So when she recommended that, I was like, I'm
Oh,
getting
okay.
it.
Cool.
Dippers, Clastic Rock, Goner Records. Check it out.
Really,
If you
check
like
out Lucksmiths. If you
All
have not heard Lucksmiths, you will definitely love that if you like that.
See, wasn't that
For
difficult.
sure.
Why have I been waiting all this time?
You did great.
Oh, you helped out quite a bit. So.
Oh, well. Okay, so my
Right, Dan,
next
what's your next real pick, not the Dippers?
my next pick. Okay, my next pick. Yeah, that was. Ooh, was that me sneaking something
You
in? My
did. Look, that's so fun.
sneaky sneak pick, a
Jeff,
la
I'll private message you right now so we can
a
sneak.
la Jordan.
Yeah.
All right. Oops. Okay, so my next one. This one is really special to me, and I don't know if like anybody knows this one. This is like maybe obscure. So I'm just gonna bring it out. This band is called Young People with Faces.
Oh, you could be
Don't
describing
know
this
it.
band tonight.
Young People with Faces. I'm gonna show you their
There
faces.
certainly are young people with faces.
Yeah.
Young People with Faces. So okay, so this album, I've had this album like right away since it came out in 2006. It is a Rapid Pulse Records release. And if you don't remember Rapid Pulse, they put out stuff like Smogtown, Trust Fund Babies, Sellouts, Basement Brats, The Sleazies,
Cool.
Strap-Ons, and lots of other great records. And this band is from Idaho. And pretty much like I think mostly the bands from Idaho that are punk are all pretty great. Like Chicken Hawks, they were from Idaho, right? Anyway, so I apparently did not remember this, but I ordered this directly from them because the little book that came with it, that's so fantastically graphically designed, little book.
It's
Little
like a
book
zine with lyrics.
with yeah, just
Oh,
on
that's
the
so
back, it's a little note to me.
Oh wow.
Oh, what does it say?
It says, "Hi, Fran." So if you don't know, I also go by Fran. Hope you dig our LP. Send us a MySpace message when you have time,
Yes.
telling us which songs you like best, if any. Thanks, Young
What
People
a
with
time
Faces.
capsule that
Yeah.
sentence was.
I didn't even remember. I had no memory of this. When I opened it up, it fell out, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
You got to get on
This
my
is amazing.
space.
Oh,
Yeah, I saw
and I know, right? And they signed the back. There they
Oh wow.
are. So now, so like you're wondering, what does this sound like? So
Hmm.
the guy, you see, he's wearing the Avengers t-shirt, and here on the front, he's also wearing a Weirdos t-shirt over here.
Yeah.
So okay, so what could this possibly sound like? You're thinking 2006. What was happening then? Who was
MySpace.
playing? It doesn't sound like you're probably thinking it sounds like. This is what I will tell you. First of all, it's awesome. So great. So great. As far as I know that they never did anything else. I think they might have put out like one single also that I have. I can't find anything else that any of you can't find this anywhere, but I did see that on like you can't find it to listen online. But I saw that there are good, inexpensive copies on Discogs from people, so you could definitely get this album. But okay, think 70s, think Destroy All Monsters, think Jane County, Cherry Vanilla, with like stoogey riffs. That's not what you thought when you saw
No,
that
that's
cover.
not what I thought at
No.
You
all. It
were
looks
thinking
like
about like the Donnas, right? So, or I don't know, whatever else you would think about 2006 Rapid Pulse Records. Destroy All Monsters is like the best thing I can kind of, but also like Jane County, slightly bored, a little bit bored vocal. You know what I mean by that?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
nonchalant, but so great, and the music is like stoogey, riffy, and like "Fuck Art, Let's Rock" is one of the titles, which I love. And it's not like stupid. It's actually like smart. Like some of the like lyrics are like, it's just like it's sort of weird like thing that just exists in its own little world,
And from Idaho.
and I love it. But
And from Idaho.
and from Idaho, punk.
Sort of
But yeah, there was
perfect though that it's
yeah, there was
yeah.
like a scene. There, like I said, there was a band, Chicken Hawks. They were from Idaho. There was like a total like kind of great scene going on at that time. I don't know if there is still now, but you know, maybe like the tiniest bit of a Little Runaways feel with like that sort of rock sound that the Runaways had, but it's still like punk, but it's not like at all, like I said, when you saw that cover and when you saw the back, you know, it's not shrieky, you know, it's sort of deadpan. And I love Shrieky though also, but yeah, it's really neat, and I can't remember how I discovered them. Probably just through like looking through a Rapid Pulse something, who knows, and their
MySpace.
MySpace page. Yeah. Send them a couple of dollars in an envelope, and they sent me that record.
Like I would have bought that record streaming right there.
Oh, sorry, Jeff.
The music was streaming right on the band page.
Maybe.
Yeah. You see that record, you buy it.
Yeah, because it looks like it should be on Ripoff Records. That's the first thing that I thought of when I saw that cover, just like that, you know, the black and white cover with like just like a solid.
It's not like it's not like a ripoff record.
No, that's what you're saying.
It's not garage. Yeah, it's really it's neat. Like I said, I did look up on Discogs that you can. I don't want to talk about something that's so obscure that no one can ever get it. So like if anybody's interested, you know, go find it. And wait, did Rachel just message and say she just tuned in?
She just tuned in. There you go. I think she caught the tail end of our dippers discussion.
Anyway, go try to find that. It's great. And if anybody knows anything about the rest of what happened to any of these people in this band, or did they ever do anything else, I'd love to know.
Nice.
Cool.
Wow. It's great picks tonight.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Should I go?
Go ahead, Jeffrey. Go ahead.
Right.
Purity.
Okay, so this next pick is because this is my first time on the show, so I figured I should bring in like some new things because that's half the fun, but also like I have to share some of my all-time tops. So so I'm coming in. This is my all-time top band forever, and I'll just show it to you. It's the Toy Dolls.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
nice.
So the record by them that I've chosen, because there's so many records by them that you can choose. I also am showing you the alternate version of the same record because it's the James Bond Lives Down Our Street record. So that record came out in 1985. I probably heard it the next year. I heard it on a skateboard contest. A friend had a video contest of the Del Mar skate contest. So there was these two back-to-back Del Mar bowl contests just before that skate park got knocked out. And someone had the videotape of it. And so of all the songs by the Toy Dolls that was on it, somebody was skating to it. One of the guys, like Spidey actually was one of the guys who was skating. And funny enough, he had his graphic from that board he's like a Santa Cruz guy. It was like, it's a parody of him, but it's the Great Rock and Roll Swindle cover where Johnny Lydon, and it's not the main gatefold cover, but the cartoon cover, and it's got like him coming out of the web, and he's got like the Vivian Westwood shirt, and he's doing that little hunt.
Nice.
It's like that. That guy, he's coming out of a cobweb. I didn't even know that that's actually what he was referencing at the time, because even though I'm sure I knew when I first heard that, I was keen on the Sex Pistols, but it wasn't like I knew that because I hadn't seen the movie yet. Because if you recall, like I don't know what year I actually saw the Great Rock and Roll Swindle, but it must have been. It was later than that because you couldn't see it. Like you couldn't rent it or anything. It didn't exist. So, anyways, that's not okay. So that wasn't what I was talking about though. So the story behind this song, which is. For anybody who doesn't know who the Toy Dolls are, you should probably just stop everything that you're doing now.
Wait about an hour.
Listen to them, because it will truly be like one of those moments where you're just like, oh, what have I've been missing out on that voice for my whole life? It's as if the Muppets just sort of like all crawled into your little punk rock favorite dream, and somebody played guitar better than you ever knew possible, and then that's what you got stuck with, while someone's also doing like football songs at the same time. and all the songs are like about gossiping neighbors and people. It's just comic gold, and it's endlessly great. And they're still going today, and they're still okay. This is not technically another record because it doesn't. So I like entered this contest, so I'm like on like this fan page for like the toy dolls, and they had this thing for like I guess Secret Records was doing this thing. This just happened like this in the last month, just right before the holidays, where they were gonna release like a live record from this show that they did last year, and all you had to do was like take this picture of yourself and why you're the biggest fan. So I took this picture of myself. So like, if you're familiar with, I take like pictures of myself in front of record. Well, anyways, so I took a picture with all the Toy Dolls records, like not even all of them, but just like so this curated picture, and so I won. And
whoa,
right? So it's over here. So I'm gonna look. I got a Toy Dolls. So how could he? Yeah. So that's exciting. Yeah. So anyway, so the point is, so that wasn't. I kind of derailed a little bit. So the point of so that James Bond song, so it's on that skateboard video, right? Okay, first part of that story, and it's like genius. It's like lines in case you need to look it up right now. But I can give you a couple of cues, like is he double? Like James Bond lives down our street. Sometimes he takes a helicopter to work, and then we all join in together and go. Sometimes he takes a helicopter to work. It's a lot of fun. And then that line, Sean Connery. I liked him more, but I'm not quite sure. I will laugh every time that I hear that. Okay, my hair is blonde, dyed blonde. Okay, but the so in the song, so when you were making mixtapes in like however long ago, and there was that point when you had like a shittier stereo, like your first like Ghetto Blaster or Jukebox. Sorry, Ghetto Blaster is a little bit offside now. And you take and you press play and record at the same time to start it. But sometimes when you're like rewinding the tape, and if you're not careful, especially if you had a dub tape, you could accidentally record over a second of a song for. So around the time that I saw that skateboard video, I got one of those sort of epic mixtapes from someone. And on that mixtape, somebody had put that Toy Doll song on the mixtape, like of all the songs that they chose, because it's only a single from '85. They already had like another record. Okay, so that was the first song that I heard by this band.
Oh wow!
And then but then I had this mixtape, and then this is where it gets fun. So at some point, like early on from getting that mixtape, I'd accidentally cut off like a split second of the mixtape. And then every subsequent mixtape that I had made for someone was missing that little bit of that song. So earlier in the chat, I was talking about that friend Mike who lived with the Templars. So in that same house, so this other sort of co-roommate that we had, my friend Pam. I hope you're all following me because you have to go.
Yeah, I'm in.
Okay, so I had made this mixtape for Mike and Pam, and then and it had like the missing part of like that. I was the only person who had this song. None of my friends had this other song. Somehow she then makes this mixtape that she gives to me. No, she didn't even give it to me. We were driving. I just clearly remember we were in the car, and then this mixtape goes in, and then that song, the James Bond song's on her mixtape, but it sounded somewhat better than the version that I had initially had. And I'm like, wait a second. And then it gets to the point in the song where it should be missing, and it's not missing. You know what that means? Yeah, scandal. That means that she's somehow not gotten a copy of this song and not told me about it. This is supposed to be my best friend. This is unacceptable behavior. So I had like a full-on like Karen moment because that was the thing. And I like had this mixtape and I'm holding it hostage out of the car window. And like Mike's trying to drive the car. And I'm like, what do you guys, who does this? Turns out that they had actually bought me that they got me this for my birthday. And except Mom had forgotten that she had made a mixtape already because it was sitting around our house, and then put it on it, but forgot that the song was on the mixtape, and it was like the birthday was not going to happen for another week, so it was just like yeah. Anyways, the end result is that we're all still friends, and we all have the record, and here we are sharing that story.
I'm glad it wasn't a friendship ending.
I know, me too, because it's like that would have been sort of like a sad story. And I'm not going to share it. There's too many sad stories out there, so that's why I'm not going to share that sad story. Okay, I've taken
beautiful, amazing, absolutely amazing. Like being from England, I was familiar. I mean, She Goes to Fino's and Nelly the Elephant were probably the two songs that we heard first. But Nelly the Elephant was such a huge hit in the UK, right? And so we had a bit of a thing, it's like, that song, that song again. I've got to sort of take a deep dive into some of the LPs because I haven't.
There's so many good records by them, and they're still and the band now is amazing too because it's what's his name from Snuff plays drums, and he's been the drummer since and the fella from what's the name of that Goober Patrol is the bass player.
Really? Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
and that's been the working band of the Toy Dolls
right?
of since the mid '90s. I think they had an album called One More Megabyte, and I saw them on that tour. That would have been like 96 or maybe 97 or so. I saw them in Vegas or somewhere, and it was the funniest shows with like Swinging Utters and Limp and Guttermouth. It was like the show didn't make any sense. Anyways, but the point is that like you need, and you're right. The last time when I was in England a bunch of years back, and we were like touring around there. And so we ended up playing a lot of like football pubs. And so they would have like the jukeboxes inside there. And I was shocked at how many of the jukeboxes had copies of Nelly the Elephant inside it. And every single time. And of course, I would play it every time I was in there. And you know that everybody is so sick of hearing that song. And of course, I'm like, oh, great. Foreigner.
About it.
There's nothing worse than and we look like such a group of dandies too, because we were like a funny little mod people, and we have all our little outfits, and we show up there, and it's a pub, and it's like a football pub, so it's all like these grumpy dudes who are just sitting there like, get me my beans, and then you go over to the jukebox and you put on Nelly the Elephant, and it's just.
But a couple of more things. Amazing guitar player, Olga, underrated, and also it's weird that I go to a craft beer pub. Down in the city, and the manager there, he's not that into punk. Guess who his favorite band is of all time?
Yeah, it is
the Toy Dolls. He's got pictures of him. He's like, "Hey, Mike, look at this," and he's like, "Yeah, he's there with Olga." It's like he goes up to Tokyo to see him like, every time they come to Japan.
Amazing.
Yeah,
I'm with it. I like the last time I saw them was in France in 2018, just before Plague Life, and it was like. Or 2019. Sorry. Anyways, it was like, but I mean, they're still so good live. So like, I mean, if you haven't had a chance to see them, it's so much fun. All the crazy moves and stuff and choreographed moves and
massive guitar.
Yeah, he's got that Telecaster that's got like 3 necks or whatever, and each neck is slightly longer. And he's like, because he is really that good. And there's like this point where he's changing which guitar neck he's playing the solos on. So it's like because he does like they do a version of dueling guitars, right? And so like there's the one part where it's like the sort of the galloping, and then he switches necks so that he can do the it's sort of phenomenal though. It's almost like Kurt Bloch territory. Like when you see people who are like magicians with guitars, and they play something. There was this time that like, and it was a fastback show, and it was a show with it was the Donnas and the Smugglers, okay, so there's a lot of good guitar players on that stage. I was in the Smugglers at the time playing bass, and so I was just like sort of there by chance, and then I'm on the stage watching them have this guitar off, and they were like all 3 of them were on stage. It was like somewhere strange too. I don't remember the show. It's not the point. Anyways, Kurt takes the guitar. And like the both like the Donnas and the Smugglers produce like truly phenomenal guitar players, but then Kurt comes and takes the guitar, and I just remember at one point he hits the guitar, puts it on the stage, and it was like a guitar off, like each person that takes a turn doing a solo kind of thing or whatever, and he's somehow hit the guitar, and now he's doing laps across the stage while the guitar is still swelling and making feedback, and each time he'd run over and sort of like smash the guitar, and it would make like this harmonic, but somehow it worked. Like I don't know, it didn't make sense. When you're watching people and other people on the stage and no one quite understands why this is working, he's like one of those type of players, anyways, Olga's like that too, so like that's where this is going. They could get together and start a super band. They both have great voices too. Talk about, because Kurt's got a hello. I shouldn't say anything. I sound like a Muppet too. I guess people with Muppet voices are allowed to call out other people with Muppet voices. I think, because when I go back and listen to this, like right now, because I'm only hearing myself through my own head, because that's how your ears work. But I know that I sound considerably more whatever I'm supposed to sound like in my head than I probably actually do. So for anyone who's listening to this, they're just going to listen to this. What are you talking about? And you're just like, yeah, do you even know? So the point is that Mike or Olga from Toy Dolls and Kurt Bloch also have those fantastic voices, and I know that he's a big Toy Dolls fan because we have had those conversations. So there. It's like what? It's not. It's like a. It's not there. It's a love triangle, but you can't make triangles very well with only 2 hands. But you can do that.
There you go.
Yeah.
I can do that. I can't do the heart, but I can do
You
the.
drew the heart, so it's okay. But we can do the triangle. See? There we go.
All right, Jeff, follow that.
Follow that.
So
No.
my next band is a band from the mid 2000s. A friend of mine had hit me up recently. They were going through a breakup, and they're like, "I want to start playing drums again. We should start a band." And I was like, "No problem. I'll do your breakup band with you." And they're like, "I want to do a straight edge band." And I was like, "I don't like a lot of. I'm straight edge. I've been straight edge long ass time. I don't like a lot of straight edge bands." And I was trying to think like, what would I not hate? And I was like, man, there was a band from the mid 2000s. It started out as a side project of members of Mind Eraser. And that band was No Tolerance.
Oh,
No Tolerance put out this. This is their demo on a 7-inch. It came out in 2007. And I don't know. I don't know that they put a lot into it. They were just like, hey, let's do a straight edge band and play a show, and it'll be fun. They put out a bunch of stuff after that, and this band was great. Like, I drove all the way from New Jersey to Baltimore, which is like 3 hours, to see them play for 8 minutes.
Would I be correct in saying that my friend Chris Corey was in that band?
Guitar player, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
And DFJ plays, he's the singer of this one. And it was just those two, just kind of like how Mind Eraser started, just the two of them playing. And this band was awesome. Like, I think as far as like a lot of straight edge bands go, like I think a lot of people go to like the Revelation records, like bold and like boring stuff that I'm not like, it's very cookie cutter. But I think they were mining more stuff like Confront and Brotherhood, which were a bit more aggressive. But yeah, like I really loved that band. Like I went to see them, you know, if they were playing within 3 hours, I was there. I went to DC, Philly, like I saw them a whole bunch, like back when they were together. And like, I don't know, I was like, well, if I got to like rip off a good straight edge band, this is going to be the one I'm going to rip off when I'm writing songs for this future band that we're going to do. And I was going through my records and I was like, oh, I have 2 copies of the 7-inch. And then I also have 2 copies of the LP. And I was like, oh, yeah, I really like this band. Because I definitely bought records that I don't listen to, because I listened to the first one I got and then didn't listen to whatever I got was a different color. But no, that band was great. Like I said, I think they just started as sort of like, hey, let's do a straight edge band. Cool, no problem. And then as Mind Eraser kind of faded away, they did a lot more with No Tolerance, which was all really awesome.
But though that group of people, whatever they sort of decide to do, it's always really good, you know. Like,
and they probably put as much effort as I would put into like a more full-time band as they would like a let's write this in the studio and whatever, and it's still better than anything that I would ever. Like, or they'll have a band that's like, oh, we recorded this music in 2012 and we didn't finish it until 2004. It's whatever. It's like, oh, it's great.
Where are they from?
They were from Boston.
Yeah, Boston.
Hence the Boston Straight Edge.
Sorry.
Name of the record.
You never know.
They were from Atlanta. No. Just really like Boston.
Who would have thought that in 2024, Chris will be playing on like one of a lot of people's favorite records of 2024,
and the drummer
completely different style of music.
The later drummer of No Tolerance is the drummer in Lifeless Dark too.
Is that true? Wow.
Ryan, yeah.
From that to like Lifeless Dark, like Sacrilege Worship. Like,
so Lifeless Dark has like 2 members of No Tolerance.
Is that true? Wow. I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Nice. Cheers. That's what I'm going
As you drink a beer and I show my straight edge record.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff, I'm representing the edge with you down here.
Okay.
Played since 1990, I'm with you.
Wow.
I too am a
non. I was like, it's a great lifestyle choice with mediocre music.
Yeah. I don't think I would call myself straight edge because I feel like that comes with some kind of like something. But though I know,
just go with it. I love just sort of riding the wave of like whatever it might be at this point in time.
Well, what it means for me then right now is I do not drink or take drugs. So if that's all it means, then that is me.
That sounds good.
All right.
If there are more rules that I'm missing out on, you can actually call me out and be like, "No, dude, you can't just sit in your little,
I'm
with
the
your little
worst
corner box
representative
and you
of straight
decide
edge.
that I just showed you a straight edge record and you shared the toy dolls. Who are you to talk about anything? Wait your turn." It's like, okay, I'm sorry.
All right. Second installment of my D bands that I've been scared to talk about. We love Spanish punk, don't we? Like from the old stuff to the new stuff and everything in between and all the styles. Punk from Spain is usually like pretty good.
I think I've talked about punk from Spain every time, or
Oh, yeah?
Spanish punk. Not today though, but up
I
until
want to say
today.
that like this record is one of those records that should have been talked about a bit more when it came out. I didn't talk about it either, so all girl band, 4 girls from Mallorca, the Balearic Islands, on Symphony of Destruction Records. Came out 2021. Talk about this record, the Desenterradas, Danzando en el Caos LP. For fans of everything from like early Belgrado to like the Fuera de Secta record that came out last year. I don't. There's just something about Spanish punk. There's just something about it you can't replicate. Again, we talked about at the beginning of the episode. Everything gets called post-punk these days. This band being called post-punk and death rock, and okay, it is a little gloomy, and it does have certain sounds that we associate in the guitar tone and the drum sound and maybe the vocals a little bit. But at the same time, it's really driving and like uplifting and super like punk like sounding record. I mean, it even has like woes in it, in a couple of songs. You don't get that too often in a post-punk or a death rock record. Just amazing, gloomy and dark, but kind of joyous and uplifting and punk rock record from Spain that's already 4 years old, and I feel kind of didn't get talked about as much as other records.
What's the label? What record
Symphony
label?
of Destruction, who are a French label, and it all came out on. Also came out on Metadona Records too. It's like a split release with 2 labels. But yeah, Symphony of Destruction is the label. It puts out tons of great stuff, like Symphony of Destruction puts out tons of great stuff, which kind of usually gets a lot of attention. But I know this record didn't get quite as much as attention as I think it kind of deserved to. Great, like modern day, contemporary, like Spanish.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Rachel guessed it. It is a great record. It's amazing, actually. Yeah.
Well, that one I don't know anything about. I'm putting that on my list.
You'll love
on my list as well.
Yep.
Man.
Anybody who loves like Spanish punk will love this record. I'm sure. That's all I got.
All right.
Great Spanish punk that came out 3 or 4 years
ago.
All
right. Well, I am ready. So my next choice is this. This person is as far away from straight edge as anyone could be. And like I said, today's picks are comfort music, comfort food, things that I love, things that some people may not love. This is a solo record from a very well-known popular band. In fact, my favorite band. Who have only been mentioned a little bit on the show, probably because they're so, obvious that people don't want to talk about it because it's like lame and embarrassing, I guess. But anyway, I've chosen what is my favorite solo record of one of their members. And before I show you, I'm going to tell you, I looked this up. All Music gives it a 1.5 stars out of 5 and rated it absolute garbage.
Amazing.
And I will tell you, it is an amazing album.
Oh, if All Music gave it a bad review, it must be good, right?
Not garbage. And it is my favorite solo album from any of the Ramones. And it is D.D. Ramones, Hop Around.
I was hoping it was the D.D. King record.
I mean, I have a major love for the D.D. King record, but I couldn't ever actually say that is a good record. That is a wonderful, horrible, wonderful, awful, record.
It is a record.
This is a really good record with really, really, really catchy, great songs. And this is actually his 4th solo album. And I was talking to my friend John about this a few weeks ago, and I thought I only had this on CD. So when I was like looking around to plan for today, I was so excited to remember that I actually had this on vinyl. So let me tell you a little bit about this. So this was released on, well, it was released on CD in 2000. The vinyl came out in 2002 in Finland. I can't even pronounce the name of the record label.
That's
But
probably
it
around
was,
the time you passed away, right?
um,
Well, what
you
year
know
did he
what?
pass away? It must have been right around then.
I think it was like 2002-ish, right?
This is the last thing that was released, like I think before he died. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
still alive when it came out. Let me just see, when did he pass? Yeah, he died in 2002. Yeah, so actually
Yeah.
the vinyl may have come out after he passed away, but the CD came out before. So this was produced by Chris Spedding. You know who he
Okay.
is,
Yeah.
and he plays a bunch of instruments on this album as well, so that kind of elevates the entire project. um and it has, so it has 16 songs on it. And one of the best things about this album is that Dee Dee was married to this woman named Barbara at this point in his life, and she sings and plays bass on this album, and she is awesome. So we get her great vocals. So she was from I'm gonna maybe say it wrong, but she might have been from Argentina. So I can't remember, but anyway, so she sings a bunch of songs on here. He sings also, of course. And I mean, when Dee Dee sings and he gets it right, it's pretty great. You know, some of his other releases not so great, but this is, I'm telling you, 5 stars. Fuck that all music 1.5 stars
I know.
bullshit. This is great. I will tell you, Rock and Roll Vacation in LA. That's one of the songs that Barbara sings, and she sings Hop Around, which has like bouncing keyboards. That's like carnival keyboards, which, like, I mean, that's all I need, and that would have, I would have given it an A plus just for that.
Yeah.
So you know that's kind of how I roll. But yeah, it's amazing, and I can't even imagine how it could have gotten trashed. But I guess all music is stupid, so that makes sense. But I don't even know what else to say about it except that, like, try to find it like out in the world, you know, if you can listen to it. Hop Around, especially, and Rock and Roll Vacation in LA. But this is my personal best Ramon solo. I'm better than anything Joey put out. And I mean, I love Joey. I love, like I said, Ramones are my favorite band of all time. And I you know, even, all right, no, I was gonna say even their worst thing is good. Total lie. They have 2 songs that are so bad I can't even, that make me wanna like cry, that are so terrible. So no, their worst couple of things are bad. But you know, this Hop
Is good.
Around, great, fun, delightful. And I saw once that there was sort of a kind of weird conglomeration of Ramones called the Remains, and it was Dee Dee. Okay, let me get this right. It was Marky, Dee Dee, and sometimes CJ. I did not see them with CJ. I thought that would have been awfully cool to see Dee Dee and CJ
Both bass
together, but I
players.
did not see that. And Barbara, his wife, and I saw them perform, and they did some of that stuff at Continental, and it was an amazing night because it was the first time I saw the Mops and Chick Stiggett and Groovy Ghoulies, and it was the first time I ever met Kepi, and who like then became really great friends with, and we all went together after the Muffs Chick Stiggett Ghoulies show downtown, and we went to see the Remains together and kind of bonded. And then, even though B-Face went to see the Pristines, which also I like, but he was stupid to go to that instead of hanging out with us. But anyway, so the point is, it was just a really cool night and seeing that. So I got to see some of that also live at the time. So like that was kind of cool. So anyway, it's just really fun. So check it out.
Neat. I have like a fun segue from that, which is like a sort of cryptic, but kind of weird, not bad. So we right in 2002, we were playing a show in it was like down up the Northwest. I believe it was in Seattle, and Dee Dee was supposed to play just down the street, and so we went and saw him. We went down to where the sound check was going to be, and I guess the show was in Ballard, and the other show was in Seattle, like just like anyways. And our show was happening, and then the show hadn't even started, and then all of a sudden, it was people were there, and then all of a sudden it just fucking packed out, and it was because Dee Dee canceled. The show canceled, and then he died the next day. Or like within the next day. So we went and saw the sound check of what would have been the last time that he was on a stage.
Wow.
Whoa.
Weird,
That's
right?
crazy.
And then like apparently didn't show, and then it wasn't, I mean, it's a long time ago when this happened, but it was like I just remember being like, oh, this is so weird, and then he passed away right after that. So it was like, yeah, so it was like one of those kind of weird little like I mean, like not a bummer because it's just what it is, but it's just kind of like, oh, weird, that's wild, right?
Wow.
That is wild.
Yeah. Okay, I guess should I segue out of that segue into what's it called if you what would a double segue be? Can you pluralize it? Can you segueing? It sounds wrong. I don't think that you can do that.
Segue.
Okay, I will do that. So yeah. Okay, so I chose like because this is my like Virgin experience. So I figured that you should choose a couple like sort of like top all-time records or kind of things. So then I was just like, okay, well, the $12 is the obvious one. Then you're like, but what would be another one? Where's your happy place? And it's just like, well, I could just pick like sort of like an obvious kind of like one of the Mod Revival records, which I thought, but I decided no, I'm not gonna. So this is what I've chosen.
All right.
So I decided I'm gonna pick the Boys' alternative chartbusters.
That's never been shown yet. That's crazy. What have we been doing? We're wasting our time. Hundreds.
They're so good.
Yeah.
And it's so shockingly good. I mean, they're almost the perfect band. Like as far as like when you think about like if you love that element of that sort of weird hybrid of when punk and what would be it's like the poppier side of what would become like new wave and all these kind of things, but it's just so. It's like the songwriting was just so top tier, and they just should have been huge.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like whatever that actually means. I mean, like should have been in my version of what radio should sound like, should have been huge. But I mean, it's so good. And this is my favorite record by them. I mean, like the first record, the first record's great, but they really take it up a notch. Like just and like when you think of like songs like Brickfield Nights and just like the way that they tell the storytelling and the lyrics, I find really fun. It's the same way that like if you're a fan of like Ray Davies, or if you're a fan of like how Paul Weller sort of puts you in the place of a story, they kind of do that really well. It's not quite as like an English storytelling type thing. It's different. It's much more. It's much more. It's more palatable from like a North American perspective, because sometimes when you're listening to those English bands and they're making reference to things that are very, very specific, you're just like, what the fuck are you even talking about? Like, it's hard to know because the references are very, very English.
Yeah. Yes.
If you're into it, it's great. The Boys found a way to kind of like sort of merge that, where you can kind of like, even if you're not into like English football, you can still understand the references to Brickfield Nights, and you just have to sort of like lump yourself into that headspace of like whether you're like that schoolyard type scenario, and you're going to go to the dance or all that, and they really managed to tap into that sort of place for a lot of people. This record, though, is so good because it mixes elements of glam so perfectly. Like there's points, like some of the songs almost feel like T-Rex, or like have like those sort of Bowie-ish sort of feels. And it's like, I don't know. I can't speak enough about how good this band is.
It's amazing, yeah.
I also find it shocking that they're also one of those bands that like kind of were secret for a long time. It wasn't until all those Captain Oi CDs came out in like the mid 90s that the universe really realized how good they were, because their records just didn't show up. Everyone else got comped. Like, do you remember all the various different comps that you started seeing, especially of the English bands? That like sort of then all of a sudden, like you just didn't find the Boys. Like
not quite punky enough to sort of
Yeah.
fit
So
neatly
like
into the Captain Oi.
totally.
know.
So if you weren't quite old enough to have caught wind of it from somebody who was old enough to have listened to it in the 70s, it wasn't like those records got to North America. So you just didn't hear them. And even though I've like been a record collecting forever, it was like, it wasn't until after those CD comps came out that I really got exposed to that band, and even then knew to look for them. Like, because you just would miss them. You just didn't, because at that point, like, I mean, you know how there's like those ways that you look for records, and you like sometimes you're like, oh, does it have like these certain trappings that would make you sometimes buy it? Half the Boys record, yeah, exactly, right. That one's the darker cover, so that's probably that's probably the reissue, right? Because
What's that on like NEMS?
Oh, you Get Back.
it's the Get Back one.
I've got a Captain Oi one. Is that original NEMS?
Yeah, this is a NEMS pressing.
NEMS. Nice.
So you can sort of tell it's pretty good too. Actually, the craziest one is the Boys Only. It comes with that crazy songbook, which is really wild. It's got all the music written out and everything. So it's like, so it, you know, all the piano parts. So if you wanted to, you know, sit back and as you're just hanging out playing, having a little, would you like to come over and I'll sing to you while Boys songs on the piano.
That's kind of funny because it's like you could start a cover band. It's like
I know, right? Oh, you know what I just realized? Okay, this is totally. So, on a total side note, okay. So, do you remember if we go back to like, I don't know if there's a time thing. So, if you were to go back to when we were talking about the Toy Dolls record, and so I made reference to that Del Mar contest. Okay, so the Boys are actually on that Del Mar contest too. Funny. And so, like, but it's a weird song because it's Weekend, which is on Boys Only, which is a terrible song to have to skateboard to because it's like got like a, you know, it's just got that, you know, it's like it's not really it's a great pop tune, but it's not really the type of song that you think I'm gonna go skate a bowl to. Anyways, and the guy who's riding it during the part is one of the Godoy brothers, who like Art and Steve Godoy. Funny enough, I didn't even think of, but you know that song Moron Brothers by NoFX? Apparently that song is written about the Godoy brothers. So they were like, okay. And then, so on a total other side note, so the Godoy brothers, Art, he like the last tattoo that I got was actually by him because he like lives in town, and it's like the Sims Screamers logo. So like, you know, like for anybody who like, because it was my first skateboard that I got, which was like, anyways, so that's fun, right? How that just worked out. I kind of forgot that was going to work out. And then I just remembered that was also on that same video. Probably. It might have been the 86 version of the contest. I know there was an 85 contest and an 86 contest. Toy Dolls were definitely on the 85 contest because I would assume that because that record came in 85 and people were kind of keeping up with the Joneses at that point, that they would have been DJing that song from that year. And then by 86, you would on to the next set of things, right? So based on the fact that that's probably what happened, I'm going to say that happened. And I can't be sure whether me thinking of that boy song was actually also 85 or 86 in that contest. It doesn't really matter, but anyway, because that happened. All right. So that's all.
I want to say that it was really hard to, the records, you didn't see those records in the used
I don't think after the NEMS one, they were kind of forgotten about, right? The Boys.
Yeah, and then the one that I had for years and years before I ever got either of those was the Christmas album, the Yobs.
Yeah, the Yobs. It was the easiest
one to get. It was the only thing I had for years and years and years. That was the first one that I found.
I didn't even know it was the Boys when I got that Yobs record. I got that Yobs record just thinking that it was funny earlier before I actually knew who the Boys were. So that's so funny that happened. And it wasn't until after the fact that someone's like,
many years,
and of course you're just like, oh, it's just the Boys backwards, and you're just like, oh, idiot, like, you know, you just like, how do you not put that together? But you just don't know, you just don't think about it, right? Until it's like
you're like, yob, that must be some kind of like word in England.
It is a word.
Yob.
It is totally like, you know, like yob, right? You know, because that's just a word that I use casually when you go for a coffee and you're like, could I have a yob? And they're like, you may. And they're like, what do you mean? And you're just like, just give me something. Don't question me. And then it's just, it's true. Those records, but now they're around, I guess. Actually, I don't think you see the NEMS copies quite that often still.
It's usually over here. It's usually like the Captain Oi one and then the Get Back ones that show. But like, one of the best, like, I mean, but they don't like fit neatly into, they've got bits of all the good music, you know, like punk, power pop, and even like the mod revival. And it's just, but every song is just such a hit single in a proper Earth.
And what was
Yeah.
the band that the one fellow was in? Casino. He was in that glam band beforehand. The Hollywood.
Hollywood Square.
No, the Hollywood. One was the hardcore band that had like, what was it? What was it called again? I've got the record. I could go look, but then I'd do one of those weird things where you have to look at my back when I'm like looking. Yeah.
Save it for next
Hollywood Brats.
Hollywood Brats.
Yeah.
Yes.
And yeah. And so he was the keyboard player in the Hollywood Brats too. And then which is that's a hard record to get because it's called just the Brats, right? Like if you or the guy's name and the Brats, like because there's a Hollywood Brats. And it was like that purple album cover, the CRI one, which is the one that you see in North America. And then they got reissued a few years back, and it kind of looks like a New York Dolls album cover. And I remember when that was the one that was going around in the 2000s. A lot of people ended up with, but then the original one has like the one picture of the one guy who's super glammed out, and he's and it's called something and the Brats or something. It's a guy's name, but anyways, I've never even seen it in real life. I just know it exists, but
they have that song "Sick on You."
Yeah,
first.
Yeah, "Sick on You" ended up being a boy song.
Right, it was theirs first, and then it was.
And Peel Sessions are great too. Boys Peel Sessions.
Yeah, the Peel Sessions. That record's really great. And then you know what's and there's that acoustic record too.
Oh wow! Okay.
Which was shot. It was like one of those moments when you realize that it was like a Bob Dylan moment where it's just like it doesn't matter what like you can play a song acoustic or electric if the song holds up, it'll just like transcend volume, you know. And it was neat to see it's always neat when you hear songs like that forces, you know, like how good is the song really, you know, once you pull away certain elements of it.
Right. Classic band. That's all timer band and record. All right, Jeff, what's your fourth pick?
So I've got a pretty recent record that came out last year on Beach Impediment Records. It's the band Sikkim. Very weird band name.
It is a weird band name. I'm not quite sure.
weird cover too. Like again, another thing. Like probably because I'm a graphic designer. Like if I saw this and didn't know what they sounded like, I'd be like, I don't know. I liked they did a demo the year before, which the cover is just stolen from a Moon Knight comic book cover.
Yeah,
which I love when like more tough bands rip off like nerdy shit like Moon Knight from the 80s. Musically, like I guess you would call them oi, but like to me, like the demo was kind of fast. Like it was kind of anthemic, like oi would be. And then when they put out this LP, I was looking at the back even just now, and it was recorded by that dude Maxime, who was in that band Reeks from France.
Oh,
so
cool.
This band did a demo. They're from like Georgia. They did a demo, and then they went to fucking France and did a 12-inch. like your second release. The demo's 3 songs and one's a cover. So that's not even like a real recording. They went and did a fucking 12-inch in France. And musically, I think they're a lot more interesting than what the cover art has. Like they've got definitely some like a lot of that like more melodic like French oi, like Camera Silence. I'm probably pronouncing that terribly. And then a friend saw them on tour. They did a tour in Florida with Soft Kill, and they covered A Forest by The Cure. So just imagine a bunch of beefy skinhead dudes playing a Cure cover. But I feel like me describing beefy skinheads doing a Cure cover is cooler sounding than like what this is. It's like a yelling bald guy. But no, really cool band. I think like they got an unusual name. Judging by like the dog on the cover, like you tell a dog like sick 'em, and that's like what the name is, but it's unusual. Not working in their favor. Like I think there's a lot of stuff not working in their favor, but like really killer band. They're actually playing in Philly tomorrow, but I don't know if I'll go because it'll probably be very late and it's like an hour and a half for me. So
I actually like the tape artwork, but it reminds me of something. I think what it reminds
me of... It's an Moon Knight comic book cover that they just changed Moon Knight to Sikkim.
Okay. It reminds me of something else, though. I think it reminds me of maybe I'm thinking of like the guitarist of Loudness's like second solo LP or something from.
You probably also stole that from Moon Knight
or something like that. Just like that kind of like a panther in the dark with its eyes.
I'm not a big enough nerd to tell you which issue of Moon Knight this is, but I know this is Moon Knight for sure. Also, this is a really cool T-shirt. I've seen people with this as a shirt. Really cool.
Cool. Yeah,
I would wear this shirt before I wore like this.
Same.
Yeah, I would definitely wear that shirt before the other one.
For sure. Yeah.
Right.
No, killer band. I think, like I said, they got stuff working against them, but they're onto something. I think.
Nice.
Yeah.
The last round. Where does the time go? Said Sandy Denny and me. Where does the time go? Who knows where the time goes? Last round. Cheers. This is my last pick in the D's, the difficult D's. Stupid. I should have talked about this record a long time ago. Chicago. What? Anybody have a all-time like favorite punk band from the fair city of Chicago?
Articles of Faith.
There's one. That's a good one. Yeah.
Not a D.
That's a good. Yeah.
Effigies.
Effigies.
That's what I was going to say.
Peg Boy. There's a lot of great bands. I think this group should be uttered in the same breath as any of the great bands from Chicago. They're more, I'm saying contemporary. We're going back like 20 years, but that's kind of contemporary, right? 3 alumni of this show were involved in this record, but of course this show hadn't been invented yet when they made this record. They didn't know that in 20 years' time I'd be saying that. But Christine Wolfe was the singer, Jeff Rice was the drummer, and Jordan Atkins released this record, and it's their first LP. It came out in 2010. I'm talking about, of course, Daylight Robbery.
Oh.
Is this band obscure? They should not be. They should be uttered in the same breath as any of the great like Chicago punk bands. Residue Records, 2010. This is their first LP. Again, Matthias, life sentence? Well, he knows I don't like life sentencing.
I didn't realize they were from
I was
Chicago.
confused by life sentence when I bought their issue. That's another story for another day. But what an amazing band. What an amazing record. Again, I've seen this band, like the post-punk thing thrown about. It ain't post-punk. If we're going to compare this band to any band, and I'm not sure, they're happy with this comparison, we're talking X from Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Christine and David Wolfe's vocals, they did the vocal trade-off. They're both amazing singers. The guitar playing is like intricate and wiry. The songs are dark but melodic. There's that like slashing guitar. The drumming is incredible, like unbelievable, like propulsive drumming. Jeff Rice is all over the kit, but he keeps the beat moving in the right way, in the right direction. Just a classic. It's like, why isn't this band more well known? I bet Jordan still has copies of this, like under his bed or in his basement. For like, look into it.
Using the chat earlier.
Contact Jordan, and if he has any, pick this record up. It will blow you away, like how great this is. But yeah, it does sound like X, but it's like X made by people who are into kind of hardcore punk as well.
Were those people in any other bands?
Yeah, oh God, yes, when they were. Someone tell me. I didn't look this up, so I don't have the info in front of me. But Jeff Rice was in tons of bands, right? Let me know. Let us know in the comments. Someone look it up.
Someone go on Discogs right now.
I wasn't prepared.
I'm trying to look up my.
Jeff Rice was in tons of bands, but Christine.
That name sounds familiar.
Christine and David have another band right now that just put out a record like last year.
All right, wait. Primitive Teeth? The Manhandlers? No?
Get to the good ones.
Oh, I mean, that's what's showing up for Christine.
Oh, Christine. Okay, yeah. She was
Jeff, Dearborn SS.
Dearborn SS. Neymar.
Yeah. Neymar, Ottawa. Coffin Pricks. Aram Chaos. Cavalry.
That's another great band from Chicago. Check it out. They have like 3 records and some singles, and but just great melodic, wiry driving.
Yeah, that sounds good. I totally don't know that record. That's fun.
There you go. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, really, it deserves to be more like well known. And like I said, I bet Jordan still has some copies.
Jordan, you still out there? Let us know if you
Let us
have
know.
copies.
I can tell him I was gonna. It's one of those ones. Like it's in my series, like records that I'm afraid of, like talking about because I can't do it justice with my words, and I don't have any. I've never seen them live. I don't have any stories about this band or anything, but just great band. That's my last pick. Daylight Robbery.
Oh my gosh, wait, it's that time where I have to go off camera for just a second. Sorry, I'll be right back.
Oh, we're gonna get what do you call it? Not the show and tell. The listen and wear. Listen and wear.
Oh, is that what's happening right now?
I think so.
We're gonna get a live listen where.
Oh man, I didn't know that we had to have outfit changes.
We gotta come correct when Anne's on the show.
Sorry, I had to do my listen wear change. Presto changeo for the last one. So my final one of my comfort food, love is the no talent.
Hey, look at that.
Wait.
From
From
France.
France, we are the No Talents. They are the greatest band in the whole wide world, almost practically, except for all the 100 million other bands that are the greatest bands in the whole
They're
wide
so
world.
good though. That's so exciting that you choose that record. I have that record. I can see it from right here. I have, you know how you have like your recently listened to pile. I've got like that record's in that pile. It's definitely gotten a spin in the last little bit. That's so fun.
You guys, if there's anybody that doesn't know about the No Talents, y'all, please find them. Okay, French punk, just punk. I mean, there's no, it is like, I mean, I guess they might be categorized as like garage punk or whatever, but it's like just fucking great, awesome punk like you want it. French. Cecilia is just an amazing person, amazing talent. Everything she touches is amazing. She's an amazing artist. She does this amazing stuff right now. She's so cool. They're all cool, Lily. I mean, they're just great. Every band that Cecilia's in is great. She has a bunch of like cool like solo projects. She'll like check out everything she does. Just fucking cool. So she lives in Portland now. Her husband is Ryan, right, from the Epoxies.
Is that who
Yes.
her husband is? Oh, wait a second! So. I stayed at their house. That's right. because I totally because was she also in the Splash 5?
Yeah. Splash 4.
Okay.
Splash 4. And Lily also.
I decided to add a member.
Yeah. And she has like a bunch of other bands too.
Yeah, this is so amazing because we were playing this show, and you know when you like show up and like because. And you sometimes want to go to a party house and sometimes you want to go to an adult house. And like they were like, and he was like at the show and we were like looking for a place to go to. And he's like, you know what, you guys can come crash. We have kids or whatever and stuff. So, those are the best houses to stay at because that means you're most likely going to get a nice breakfast in the morning. You're going to hang out. There's going to be all the things that you want. Like that, it's like if you're gonna party, sweet man. Like that's don't get me wrong. Like a punk house is as fun as any punk house. But I mean, like sometimes if you like have if your plans in the morning consist of other things, the parent house is like. But the parent punk house is the best. So this is so funny that I totally forgot until. I love that record. This is the best.
Wow.
Oh yeah, so it's the greatest.
I'm so in.
It's just they're great. Everything they touch is great. But so that it came out in 1996 originally. Well, not originally, no. It came out in 96 in France on Cecilia's label, Wild Wild Records. And then here in the US, it came out on Broken Records.
Okay.
Broken Records. And it's just phenomenal. It's just like, like, it's so great. I mean, this.
I should do that more often. That's a good way of describing a record, just like that.
Oh yeah, Sex Crime was really good. Somebody just wrote in the chat.
Yes, Daniel. Hey, Daniel. Yeah.
It's so great. It's like 60s French yay groups. She has this album, Cecilia and the Sauerkrauts, that like the cover is like a spoof of the Herb Alpert the shaving cream.
Yeah.
But she's all covered in sauerkraut. And like, it's kind of like 2 steps into like Tina and Johnny. I know that they were like part of the same family of
Sure.
friends. And Russell Kwan plays drums on that album. This is the Sauerkrauts album, and they're all, all those guys are all, sort of intermingled with bands and friends and all. And it's just pure joy, fucking great, awesome French punk.
I gotta check this band out. So I do see their records, and the Splash 4. I see their records around.
Yeah. The Splash 4 is good. The No Talents to me
better.
is just
okay.
the absolute pinnacle.
Okay, gotcha.
I think the New Talents record got reissued, didn't it? Like again, I'm pretty sure the version that I have is the what's it called? The version from North America, because I got it when it came out.
Yeah, I looked this up earlier. In 2014, it got reissued.
Okay.
I don't think there's been anything since then. They have 2 albums. They have lots of 7-inches. They're all great. All great.
Right. Nice.
Yeah. And everything she does. And if you find her, Cecilia, on Facebook and all, she does this amazing like tile artwork now, and she'll make like an album cover in like mosaic tiles, and it's like freaking awesome. So yeah, she's great. Cool person.
Like that Alien Nose Job album cover, that was an amazing. That
oh my god, yeah.
Like that album cover is phenomenal. I don't know if you've seen that. Alien, and it's like him playing guitar, but it's so cool.
But like she does like mosaic actual tile work. She makes tables and like just like all this awesome stuff. So anyway, yes, if anybody's not familiar with them, please go find them. They're just great.
I'm on it.
Cool.
Beautiful. All right, Jeffrey, what's your last pick?
So my last pick is a record that just came out this past year.
Oh.
It's the new Night Court album. I'm a big fan of this record for a bunch of reasons. My partner's also in this record, or is in this record. There she is. Look, right there. Emily plays drums in this band. They're so good. It's so fun when you watch a band sort of like start and then just slowly get momentum and then just really get like, I'm like a proper fan. So it's like beyond the fact that they're friends and for all the reasons why you might be stoked on a band, it's so exciting when when a group of people who you actually really like love and then just make like one of your favorite records of the year. It's so good. It's so neat. It's like, I mean, if you're not familiar with them, I mean, they remind me, I guess, of like Superchunk a little bit would be like the most obvious, like easiest band to sort of pick. I don't think they sound like them, but they do, if that makes sense, if that's like a fair description. This newest record though, it's on Recess, and you can really hear like Jeff and Dave, Jeff specifically, because I know he just loves Todd Congiulieri. Look at all the skateboarding references we get to make in this video. That wasn't because Todd was like a pro skateboarder, of course, right? And so anyway, and Jeff, and so, but like I know that Jeff was really excited for them to get to do something on that label, and you almost hear, it's almost like at points you hear like a mix between like the later FYP records mixed with Superchunk. Like you know how Todd has that certain way of singing, and it's like it's pop punk, but it does, and in some ways it's so close to like this bastard version of all those, like when Screeching Weasel and the Queers and stuff, it was really pop punky, but they don't sound like that. But it's like all the bands that kind of like didn't quite fit that mold, but still came out of the same time zone, But they, but it wasn't like Epitaph skate punk. It was something different. It was just like, I don't know how you know. Maybe it was just punk. Maybe that's the season.
Look out, Jason.
I don't know. I'm overthinking it or something.
Right.
But I find that their record is like this new record, such a really neat mix between like that sort of like how Superchunk kind of has like this cool gritty vocals, but you hear girls and guys singing, and three vocals happening throughout the whole record, so you get lots of personalities within it. I don't know. I'm a big fan of this one.
Let's have a look at that record again. I like the
cover looked awesome.
Yeah,
when you were showing
yeah.
And the album's called Hit Machine or Shit Machine, as you can see. It's like and they're unbelievably prolific. Like Jeff and Dave it's fascinating. This is like in 3 years, they pumped out basically 3 records. They had 2 that came out the previous one last year and this one. And they're going to record another record like in February. It's insane. It's just like, how does that even happen? But it's just
when
like,
I got the Humans, when I got that first album, I was actually completely surprised at what they sounded like. I went in totally zero knowledge. I bought it because of Emily and you, and I knew people, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get this album. And like I don't know what I expected, but it was like so much like not like I don't know. I was just like, wait, I need to take this off and put it back on again with different. Like I was like unprepared for this kind of like.
It's an unassuming record. It's actually a really smart record. Like I mean, like this record. There's a lot of songs that have a lot of sort of social commentary or just sort of like. I find that like a lot of bands are like it's very easy when people get older to fall into trappings of laziness when they start writing songs where they're just like they like what they sound like, and so then they fall victim into just being like, this is the type of music I play and these are the types of things we sing about, you know. I'm in an oi band, so we sing about the streets and we sing up, you know, like and even though like that's fine or that's cool, like whatever, like I mean you can sing about whatever you want, I don't care, but I mean like it is exciting when you hear a band that it just sort of like I don't know, there's a lot going on, so it's a smart band, you know, even though like you know the songs are very very simple in some ways, but they're totally not like I don't know, I highly recommend people check out this record. Recess is a classic example though of one of those labels that do small pressings, because everybody does like these quick pressings. I know that the last few records that have come out, I'm sure I mean, maybe they'll repress it because Night Court seem to be quite busy. Like they're touring quite a bit, and so you know, and Recess has been around for a long time, so they do keep their records in print for bands that are active. But that said, like I mean, like you know, like when a record gets pressed and there's only 500 copies of it, you give it a push and then that's it. Like it's hard to get them after that. Like you know. But that's it. That's all I got.
Beautiful. All right, Jeff.
I got to close out the show now. So
last pick of the day. There you go.
My last pick was going to be a different record. I was going to talk about the most recent Mob 47 LP.
You know,
and that would have been a lovely conversation to be like, oh, this really cool band from 1984 released their first LP in 2004. What a lovely conversation we would have had talking about that.
24.
Yeah, that would have been a great conversation. But instead, America got real fucking weird this week, and I got really angry. And guys singing in Swedish wasn't going to cut it. So I needed Americans being angry. So I'm going to send this one out to Elon Musk this week. This is the classic Fuck Nazi Sympathy record by Osrotten. Because it came out in, 1992, 3, whatever. And it's 94. And it's more relevant this week than it has been in a long time. Normally, my go-to Osrotten record is this one. We'll just drop the sticker.
Great.
This is a great record, despite the 14-minute side one. But the song Xenophobia on here is also very relevant, unfortunately. But no, I was like, I for some reason I had this song in my head. I can't tell you why. But because Anne's on the show.
Oh yeah,
right. You gotta listen where.
I got my bootleg Osrotten shirt.
Listen wherever.
Listen where.
That looks like an old school. Is that old? Is that an old school?
No, it's a recent bootleg that just looks old.
Oh, I love distressed punk wear. This is so good.
I've been dyeing white shirts with you get a bunch of tea bags and you put the shirt in for a bit and it
are not actually doing that.
It's like this ugly brown color. It looks great. I don't fuck with white shirts.
Oh, that's amazing. Has anyone ever made fake pirate maps? And you do that where you take the paper and you draw the map.
Oh yeah.
And then you I remember learning how to do that when we were a kid, and we used to make maps, and then we would like put tea bags all on them, so then they would look
And you
like
burn
old
the
tea.
edge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, burn the edge, burn the edges.
I gotta seriously up my punk apparently, because I never thought about teabagging a T-shirt. Man,
Wow.
you know, right?
Wow.
That's a weird sentence.
It was a weird sentence.
I like it.
First time ever being said.
I think this is a great record and band to end today.
Yes, that's very
perfect.
appropriate.
So perfect.
Exactly. I don't think anyone would argue with that. So,
Oh, you'd be surprised with the people I've argued
Wow.
with on Facebook.
Oh God, I can't imagine.
Well,
I
fuck
had to
those
delete Facebook
people.
off my phone
Yeah,
because I was
right?
getting into arguments with people this week.
Exactly.
In case anybody wasn't sure, fuck those people.
Those people.
Yeah, because apparently it was fine. Not a big deal. Okay.
I saw this amazing picture of somebody who spray painted one of those crazy box Tesla trucks, and they like totally tagged it, and it was like,
Yeah. The tags were actually good on it.
yeah, I know, right? Oh my
It
God.
actually had like pretty good tags.
Yeah.
I saw that too.
all right. I guess we'll probably keep on chatting after the camera stopped. While I kind of got a few things we want to talk about. That was a great show. So much fun. The time
Great
flew past.
show.
We could have done 10 each. Next time.
Thank you so much. That was so much fun.
It was fun. I had a great time. I forgot all about the horrible things that were happening in the world for a couple of hours. And you can't until
I reminded
last
you.
week. Thanks for coming on. It's been a great. We'll carry on talking a little bit after we stop recording. Let me just announce next week's show. Jeff Young, Sarah Rizchek, and Will Jarrett next Friday. January? That can't be right. Is it? Yes,
Yeah,
it is right. January 31st.
First, yeah.
You know why I'm confused? Because on that day it's actually February, like in Japan. That's why.
Right.
Because it's on Saturday for you.
Yes, exactly. So in everybody else's world, it'll be Friday, February 31st. For me, it'll be February. So make sure you tune in. See you next week. Everyone, take care of yourselves. Don't get too depressed. It's not the end of the world. Keep on enjoying, like doing what you're doing. Keep smiling, all that good stuff. Until next time, as always, especially now, stay healthy and